Welcome to Chew the Chat Podcast.
Who's the first dog on the pod?
First of all, welcome to Chew the Chat Podcast, Simon Cowling.
Thank you.
And Ronnie Barker.
Yeah.
First dog on the pod.
Yeah.
He's really well behaved as well, chilled, isn't he?
He is, yeah. See, it's take him everywhere with me from being a puppy.
Yeah.
When he was scared of everything, sticks to my side, and 3 years on.
3 years old. He's
doing
chilled.
all right, isn't he? He's cool. And he's what's known in the business as a shit poo.
Okay.
He's half Shih Tzu, half poodle.
Okay.
Yeah.
You met Skipper on the way through. She's a Labradoodle.
Ah, right, yeah, that's it.
She's absolutely crazy.
That's it. Mix a poodle in with, I wouldn't want a poodle on its own, but mix it in with any other breed and it makes it
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
better.
He's chilled, Ronnie Barker.
He's
Class
cool.
name as well.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, Simon, thank you for being here. Thanks for your time. We
Thank
really
you
appreciate
for
it. You've got
letting
an
me come
interesting story. You reached out to me via the email. I think you came across the podcast via another one.
Yeah, through the True Crimes
True
with
Crime.
Sean Atwood.
Yeah.
And he said that he'd heard from other people that had been on, and he said that you opened their heart chakras. And
yeah.
that's what got me in. And I came to your podcast through that, and I did a year's worth of your podcasts in a couple of weeks.
Wow.
But it was quite good because it was a year's catch-up, because obviously as you were starting,
Yep.
Corona was all starting.
Yes.
And it was good to see that year's timeline of, to start with, it seemed quite like a holiday. This is quite good, all in it together, and then is this still going on? Is this still going on?
Yeah.
As everyone's mental health gets wound, worse and worse through it and stuff like that. It's interesting to see the development.
Yeah.
So I think you've got a really good social history thing for the past year sort of thing with the people that you've had on, and different things through that. Yeah.
We are a pandemic podcast kind of thing, because we were literally, it was only very end of January was the first episode, and the first few were just audio.
Yeah.
It was because of the pandemic, when we had time on our hands, where I thought, you know what, let's turn this shed.
Yeah, well, that's it. You've got to make the most of these things, haven't you? And there's sort of the positives out of the negatives.
But that's interesting. I've had a few messages from people now, quite a few, where people have gone right back to the start and come back through and kind of said that kind of lineage, seeing it all sort of move, and the studio changes and the narrative of culture.
The vision coming and stuff like that, and as well. And you got me on. I did my first float thanks to you a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, how was it?
Amazing, yeah. It was going in. I was laid in the dark, doing my yogic breathing, thinking, when's it going to work? When's it going to work? And it's like, you've got to put it out of your mind. But towards the end of it, I remember you saying you don't know where your body starts and the water begins, sort of thing. And I was getting that, doing my yogic breathing, bit of sort of pranayama breathing exercises to cool myself down. And towards the end, like I say, I went in, I couldn't feel myself, and I was seeing sort of old school computer graphics towards the end as I was coming out, and it was just amazing. So I will book in and do more, because
that's ace to hear, because it does take 3 or 4, Simon.
Yeah.
It does take, seems to be like a mean average is about 3 or 4 floats.
Yeah.
Where people kind of, and it's interesting, and as we'll get to, and I'll do a bit more of an introduction on you in a moment, because you are a yoga teacher, you do all sorts of holistic things, and you're very connected to this way of being.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because even with that mindset, and I did this recently with a Cambo experience, I thought, I'm really quite versed at this psychedelic stuff now, so I'm just going to let go of letting go. And then I was letting go of letting go, like consciously, subconsciously. And it's interesting, because when you get in that tank, we use the breathing, and we use we know where we are, and we settle ourselves, but it's all that thinking that we're doing. There comes a point when you just and the light comes on, or the music, and it's gone, and it's like 3-4 minutes. It feels like.
Oh yeah. No, it is. It was.
Yeah, but for you to have sort of get that towards the end of your first one, that's amazing.
No, it was good. And I mean, the thing is, every little nick that's on your body.
Yes.
It's below my neck. It was I didn't realise I just cut there and stuff like that, but it was amazing. Yeah.
Obviously I shaved my head and get in there.
Oh yeah, if you get the little nicks in there, but it is. I mean, it was a brilliant experience. It was one of those things I'd thought about doing in the past. Mm-hmm. And they say that the universe brings things up. And you were raving about it, and then you had the guys on from like the Lincolnshire float and places like that.
Yeah.
I'd got a bit of birthday money. I'll treat myself, and it was really good. I'll definitely go back.
Oh, excellent.
So that's what it's about. It's opening yourself up to these other things, isn't it? You know what I mean? Just by watching a true crime podcast, it leads me onto this one, which like you've wanted to do that. Just go and do it. You've got the time.
That's what I love about podcasts, you know, and I think I got that across when I eventually sat down with Sean, you know, which was there's something about, and I think this is highlighted now more than ever with the censorship thing that's happening and the way that conversation's being crushed and shadowed and pushed out, you know, of the fore, if you like.
Yeah.
I love the idea that you listen to a podcast and you might read often it's podcasts you trust the guest, you trust the host and you trust the show. So if you haven't heard of guests, it's cool because you're there because you know that something's going to unravel. It doesn't matter that you don't know a guest.
That's it, yeah.
That kind of podcast is what I love.
Interesting people on it. And so many podcasts, because I got onto Sean Atwood through True Geordie and stuff.
Yes.
And it is those lead-ons and stuff like that, because I like the long-form conversation and I like it with just normal everyday folks. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't care about the Kardashians. Or, you know what I mean?
It's so powerful.
Like,
it's so powerful when you do hear, like you say, you could be listening to True Geordie. For me, where this came through really was an American podcast with Dr. Christopher Ryan, Tangentially Speaking, it's called.
Right. I'll have to look that up.
I went to him because he went on the Rogan podcast.
Right, I've seen a few Rogan ones.
Yeah, he'd written a book, Sex at Dawn, about 2012, and he went onto the Rogan podcast. He's an anthropologist, and I'm really interested in that stuff. So I'm always, Graham Hancock, those guys. I love listening to that stuff. I listened to, the podcast with Chris Ryan on probably about 2012. It must have been thereabouts. Never heard of him. Got his book. Loved his conversation. I think it was that podcast where Joe said to him, "You should do a podcast," like he used to say to everybody back in the day. And he did. And his podcast is fantastic because he's a PhD anthropologist, is an author, very intellectual guy, but very kind of bohemian traveller.
Right.
Spent his 20s and 30s travelling. Now he calls he has a van. He's got a van which he sort of says it's like my middle-aged backpack. And he gets in that, and his podcast is amazing because he'll just drive around Colorado, wherever.
To check this out then,
and he'll stop and he'll just meet super cool people, and by which I don't mean, like you say, celebrities with all this status or that. I just mean
people who've lived
interesting people around a campfire that you've never heard of, you'll never hear from again. And he has these wonderful conversations. So I think spirit.
That's what this podcast does for me. It is that sort of, I haven't been working as much and stuff like that, but it's quite like the conversations you have to people when they come in for a massage, because they'll open up. You get told all sorts, because it's no one realises what's, you're in, you're out, and just talking.
And in a nice environment, safe.
That's it, relaxed, and you've been a nice part of someone's day. So even if they've had a crappy time up to come at you, if they've been ill or anything like that, they're on a spa day today, so everything's brilliant. You know what I mean? It's quite a nice world to be in, and I've missed that. Because of not being able to do the treatments and stuff like that, or teach my classes. So to be able to listen to things like this or other podcasts, it's done the world of good.
Well, I appreciate that. It's a lovely endorsement, and I really, really am grateful. So, Simon, you are here today. You are Simon Cowling. You, as we are today, you are a therapist, as I mentioned. You do massage, you do all sorts of connecting our natural, the memory of ourselves,
holistic health. I think we need that.
And in the past, you've worked in TV. On some pretty big shows.
Big at the time, I guess. If Hollyoaks, Biker Grove, stuff like that behind the scenes, and I enjoyed it when I did it. I thought it was wicked, but it's nothing compared to teaching yoga or doing massage and stuff like that. I mean, I had a good time. I was lucky with sort of the whole TV thing and how that happened. Like yourself, I went to art college. I did TV, film and photography to start with. And then I did a HND in photography, and halfway through the HND, thought, I don't want to be a photographer. But back then you got paid for going, and, you didn't have to pay fees. So I'll stick it out to the end, and then I'll go travelling, wanted to do that sort of thing. And then started seeing someone who she was just going to university, so I didn't want to leave her. I was all in love and stuff. I'll apply for jobs. And as you do when you're sort of 18, 19, and I was living in Teesside, and I was like, I can get a job in television. Didn't know anyone who'd worked in television or anything like that. But with that sort of youth and not knowing the world, what is there to stop me? And I was lucky. I was lucky. It was the mid-90s, so a lot of the satellite channels were starting up, I don't know if you remember the things like Men and Motors. And,
Yes.
well, that's who I used to work for. Granada started up something called GSB, which was a satellite television channel. So there was Men and Motors, which was lots of women getting the boobs out, lots of fast cars, things like that. Then lots of cookery programs, gardening programs, lifestyle and stuff like that. And they took on a load of graduates and stuff like that, paid us next to nothing, but we got to make television programs. And in the past, the scheme with sort of TV was you'd have to start off at the bottom, sweeping floors, driving vans, things like that, before you got anywhere near a studio or you got to make television programs. But because technology was getting that you didn't have to be as technical to use it, setups like you've got here and stuff like that were starting to come in. They took a load of us on, and we did all different jobs. We were technical operators, so I did a bit of camera work, sound work. The thing I enjoyed the most was floor managing, things like that. So there was probably about a couple of hundred of taken on, and it was brilliant. It was like people from all over the country. We were living in Manchester, the middle of the Britpop era and stuff like that. So it was a really big thing. We were making TV programs. There were nothing amazing, nothing that you're gonna win BAFTAs for or anything like that. And I did a couple of years there, but always wanted to work sort of terrestrial TV and stuff like that. So I sent CVs out and things like that. And from Granada, I went to work for the Zenith North that used to make Biker Grove.
Right.
And I went there as a runner. So as in what I did as a job, I took a little bit of a step back because I was more of a dog's body, driving people around, the old school sort of thing. But it was terrestrial TV, and it was a good grounding in, even though it's kids drama, it was still sort of quite highly rated back in the day, and stuff
huge
like
viewing
that.
figures as well.
Yeah. I mean, that was a hard job. I was up and out the house for 7 every morning, and if I was back at 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, I'd had a short day.
Yeah, that's a long day.
They weren't really hard, and out of all my TV jobs, that was probably the one I liked the least, because it was just long, hard work, driving kids around and stuff like that, and what have you. But it gave me a really good grounding in how a drama works and what things are expected of you, and you turn up on time, you're late. You know what I mean? You've got to be there, you've got to do it. So that helped me when I moved on and did other things. From there, I did a little bit of travelling after Biker Grove, went to Thailand with an ex-girlfriend.
Yeah, I want to get into that because
that's further on down the line.
There's some fun stuff happening in Thailand.
That's further on down the line with, But that was the first time, because I'd said before that I'd wanted to go travelling.
Yeah.
I'd met a girl, and I got into the television work because she was at university and stuff like that, doing the long distance thing. So after Biker Grove had finished and stuff, we decided to go and do a little bit of travelling, get it out of our system.
Yeah, of course.
Best and worst thing I ever did, because it didn't get it out of its system. It just
triggered it.
Ignited something in me that I knew I should always wanted to have done, sort of thing. And I blame Michael Palin from being a kid watching Around the World in 90 Days and stuff like that. So we went and did that, and then loved it. Came back, and started doing some work over in Liverpool for Mersey TV on Hollyoaks. So I went over there initially again as a runner, but because I'd had that good training with Biker Grove, doing things well and good, and things like that, I advanced quite quickly there. I went as a runner, and then I became a second assistant director. So that is, you're in charge of the actors.
That's an important job, that one.
Well, I'd like to think so.
Yeah. From what I know.
Yeah. So when the actors came in, you'd make sure they're all in, they'd gone through makeup and costume. If there was any sort of background artist, if you're in the pub or something, you say, you walk from there to there when they say action. You pretend you're talking to them, in charge of all the extras and stuff like that. Absolutely loved my time working over on Hollyoaks. Like I say, that would have been sort of late 90s into the beginning of the noughties. Again, brilliant time.
I was probably watching it then.
I was watching it
then.
So I did the Millennium when the Loft nightclub opened. That was when I was there.
Yes.
Because actually, one of my extras didn't turn up, who was meant to be the taxi driver. So I ended up having to be the taxi driver, dropping off two of the people who were going to the opening night of the loft and stuff like that. So I had a really good time over there. The cast were really nice. The crew really good. Scousers, love them to pieces. Very similar to the attitude of sort of Middlesbrough, sort of hard industrial sort of places. Can take the piss out of themselves, but don't you dare take the piss out of them. Live for the weekend and the football. They've got slightly better football teams than we have, but it's just how things are. But loved my time there. So yeah, I was there sort of freelance on and off. Did a couple of years there, and then decided that. By this point, my girlfriend was living in Newcastle, so I was commuting from Newcastle and on a weekend backwards and forwards, and that was like, well, we'll move down to London. That's where all the razzmatazz, that's where all the television's at and stuff like that. So that was the idea, was to move down. So I got a job with a shopping channel called Bid Up TV, which it was It was a nightmare. But
was it?
I wanted to go to London. Went down.
You got to get in the
like
door.
Yeah, get yourself down there. So I went down there. Unfortunately, in the meantime, me and the girlfriend that I went down, we were going to move down. We split up. These things happen. It's young, very sad at the time, but you move on through things. And so I was down in London probably for about 18 months, 2 years. And I, thankfully, not at the time, I didn't think it was the worst thing ever, because I'd lost a girlfriend, then I lost my job. I was made redundant. So I was, down in London, no job, stuff like that. And me and a few friends that I work with, we set up a little production company to see what we could get going. We did a couple of little jobs, nothing really major. Did some stuff for Men and Motors. I did some assistant floor managing on the Turner Prize, the contemporary art thing. Managed to lose Madonna. I had one job. It was like Simon. It was the year that Madonna was presenting the award, and it was like, she's going to be in a holding room. 20 minutes. And it's a live program. This 20 minutes beforehand. Go up, bring her downstairs, so we know she's there and she can give the award out. So I was doing bits and bobs around, and it was a really swanky do. It was like proper big end names there, It was like Ricky Gervais
the
was
Turner
there,
thing,
just everywhere.
Prestige.
Yeah, Jarvis Cocker, all of that little exchange from Blur. I was just blown away, you know what I mean? It's like, right, go and get Madonna now. Yeah. Being shown beforehand where she was, so I go up to this, but like, I'm going to room with Madonna here. So Madonna's going to open the door. There's no one in there. There was an empty bottle of champagne and two champagne glasses. Like, she's probably been here. So I was like, right, I've got to go and tell the floor manager and the production manager
that there's no Madonna.
There's no Madonna. Luckily, I went down, and this is probably why I don't work in television anymore. I found it quite funny. I was like, I've lost
Madonna,
possibly one of the most famous women in the world. And anyone who knows me will go, oh yeah, that's nothing for Simon. But luckily, after we had a look around, we found her, and she was backstage canoodling with Guy Ritchie.
Oh, right, yeah.
So they were just getting together at that time. Maybe they were married, I don't know, but it was all around that time. Yeah. So I did that, and I did a little bit of some other work, again, actually, for Men and Motors and stuff. We did our own little production, but the work dried up. I ran out of money. And like all good children, what do we do when we run out of money?
Back home, yeah.
Mom, Dad. So at 25, 26, again, I'd lost my job.
Yeah, and you mentioned you sort of went over the relationship thing, but was that an important relationship?
It was my first proper
So that's the first.
I was 19 when I met her. She was 17. She was at university in Canterbury. I'd get the bus down there, back. We were
heartbroken.
Yeah. I was in bits. You know what I mean? But had all that not happened, I wouldn't be sat here now. Right. I wouldn't have discovered the world of treatments and massage, and later on yoga. I've got to do more travel. I've got to meet like yourself through doing things. Some amazing people. Because everyone comes from massage. I've had everyone from lords and ladies to someone who used to be a clown, you know what I mean?
Wow.
And it's like you don't know what's coming through. So
Yeah.
you get to meet loads of amazing people. So after all my media happenings and relationship failures and things like that, that's how I ended up back at my mum and dad's. Didn't know what I was going to do. Well, wanted to carry on with my work in the TV, so I was sending stuff out, and it got to sort of about August, September time. So I've been back, because I stayed at friends in New York for a while, then went back up to mum and dad's, and a local college were putting their prospectuses through the door, and I was just having a look through it. And I always said if I was not working long term, because back then you could sign on college courses, didn't cost you anything, and I could still sign on the dole because it was deemed a part. They diddled the hours for me, so it was under 22 or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I could get a little bit of money that way. But I thought, well, I'll go and do a course, give me something to do. Never intended to finish it. Certainly didn't think I'd become a therapist. I thought, I'll get to have a few massages. You know what I mean? It's one of those things. And it's not something that I'd ever thought of as blokes doing it, because culturally in this country, it's women that work in beauty, and later on as the spas come in, that's been on with, you know, an extension of the beauty thing. And you'll know yourself, having lived in Thailand, it does over there, men and women do treatments and stuff like that. So like I say, it'd never been in my mind up until I'd met a good friend of mine, a guy called Andy, who was an aromatherapist, and he'd sort of 20 odd years ago, or maybe even more now. This horrible when you stop and think how many years it is. Especially it's my second career, I think it's new, and I've done this longer than anything else. Yeah. But I knew Andy from when I was about 19, 20, and he was an aromatherapist. He's a really cool, chilled out, otherworldly guy sort of thing. And he did massage, and I'd had massage off him, and I was like, oh, well, Andy does it, so blokes do it. So I'll go along and I'll sign up. And I went along and signed up, and in the whole beauty school, there were 2 blokes. Everyone else, it was the women and stuff. So it was me and Lee, another guy. And it was really funny because we'd infill with a lot of the sort of beauty girls, 16, 17. Like I was 26, 27. I think Lee was 30. So we were a little bit older. We were infilling. And every week, one of us would be sat in the corner, and one of the guys would go, is Lee gay? And, or the other way, Lee would go, is Simon gay? And neither of us were, but because we were northeastern men
having
in
a crack.
Middlesbrough, going and learning massage and things like that. One of them's got to be one of it. And we found it hilarious. So whenever it would happen, go, oh, Lee, it's your turn this week. She thinks, and oh, no. And it's not, you know what I mean? And it's one of those things that it's...
I wonder if you can have them kind of jokes anymore.
I don't know, but it's funny that...
Kids on campus are like, oh, better not, someone will sue me if I make a joke about the sexual orientation.
But it was, just assume that, So, I went to sign up to do initially Indian head massage. And that was one night a week. And when I went along and saw that there was like a holistic therapies course. I'll see if I can get on that. I think initially it was full, but they had someone drop off, and I got onto that. So I was doing my Indian head, and then on the holistic therapy side of things, as your practical subjects, you'd do body massage, Swedish massage, aromatherapy, reflexology, and facial therapy, so facials, things like that. And then you did some... Oh, careful, Ronnie.
Yeah, Ronnie Barker.
Well, that's it. He's making his appearance. And we did some theoretical stuff, so anatomy and physiology, a little bit of business side of things.
Okay, so it's a,
just an all-rounded course sort of thing. And sort of towards the end of the course, it was 1 year course. Well, sorry, no, I'm jumping ahead a bit here. So I signed up and I did that. Like I say, I didn't think I'd finish the course. I didn't think, I'd become a therapist or anything like that. And so towards Christmas, realised I'd stopped applying for jobs, and I really enjoyed doing massage, and I was good at it. I was getting good feedback and things like that. So I was quite enjoying it. And then it was about this time of the year, on a similar sort of weather day as we're having here.
We got caught in a random heavy shower.
Well, it was like that. And Centre Parks had come on a recruitment drive, and I thought, it's raining out. I'll just go and see what they've got to see. You know, it's better than going out in the rain. So I went along and said, it sounds quite good. Working people on the holidays over in Penrith. It's near the Lake District. That'd be quite nice. So I got an application form. I filled that in. They asked me to go for an interview. And when I was on the interview, I felt like, did you ever used to watch Faking It? The TV programme where they'd take like...
ringing a bell, that.
There was one where it was a cello player and she became a club DJ.
Literally just sort of, you just fake it. Yeah. See if you can get away with it.
Yeah. I was training.
I do remember something.
I felt like I was on that programme, you know. Right. I was being asking all these, and I was answering, I'm tricking me, I know all the answers. And at the end of the day, they offered me the job. They were like, you've got to finish your college course, but we'd like you to come over and work for us as a therapist. I've got to do all my paperwork now. Dreadful paperwork. It's just that creative mind that just wanted to be getting out. So literally I'd gone over, I did all my paperwork, say on the Monday, got it all signed off, started at Centre Parks on the Tuesday.
Oh, wow.
And that was really good because there were like 24 therapists. We were all from all over the country, but more from the north of the country, but because they got jobs for people from outside the area, they were like 2 streets that you lived on. If you're from outside the area with the accommodation that I help you out with. So if you went to one street, you're in the other. So it's really nice. So on your day off, you'd cook tea for people. When they came home from work, you'd be in and out of everyone's house. A little
community out of it.
No, it was really nice. And plus it looked really, because there were only 3 blokes who worked in the spa. So on nights out, especially in Penrith, which, sorry people from Penrith, very strange place.
Really?
Yeah.
I had a weekend there with my wife. We went up and did some walking and stayed in a lovely little pub, but it was in the middle of... I didn't see
the
anybody
town
else.
itself's a very strange... Did you used to watch The League of Gentlemen?
Yes.
It's very Royston Vasey.
Okay.
Very Royston Vasey.
Okay.
Like, some of my mates from Teesside came over to visit when I lived there, and we felt like we would take that, honestly. It was just, it's just funny. But 3 blokes in the whole spa, so we go out on these nights out, and all these, how'd come... You're with them.
You were 30 women.
Yeah. No, so it'd be really good. But that was a really good sort of place to start work for me, because when you train as a therapist, a busy day is in college. If you do 2 massages, you've done a lot. So to leave there, then go to Centre Parks, sort of start the summer holidays, you've got 8 hours a day. 8 hours back to back after you've been used to doing a couple of hours. So you'd sign in and out at the end of it. You couldn't pick the pen up by the end of the day. But you got up to speed, you got the strength up in your hands, and I did a little bit of more training there as well. More sort of product training, sort of things for facials, body treatments, Elemis, Decleo, stuff like that. Not really my thing, but it's another thing under your belt, some more knowledge. And I was also lucky when I was at Centre Parks to meet one of my best friends ever, a guy called Martin, who's just had his first little baby, so shout out to
congratulations,
little baby Daisy. She was born on the 1st.
Welcome to this rock that we are trying to...
1st of May, and he says he can name check him, because he's very significant later on in the target.
I see where we're going,
So, me and Martin, I went to work there, and I met my friend Martin, and when we were there, he lived out the back of where I live, so we were always in each other's houses, and we were always talking about wanting to learn other treatments, go other places, do other things like that. And we decided that we did want to learn Thai massage and stuff like that, but it was a pipe dream at that point. I stayed at Centre Parks probably for about 9-10 months, because turnover staff was quite big, because people from out the area and stuff like that, a lot of younger people got homesick and stuff. So all the staff that I worked with, loads of them were leaving. Martin decided to leave. So at that point, I got a job over in York, just a lovely little day spa down there. And
so when you're going into that job, Simon, do you, that jump from your college training into full-on kind of production line, Centre Parks, and now you're going into like a day spa, which is much more bespoke and kind of boutique, I imagine. So you've got some good experience. Is the pace change? And
It's if you think sort of Centre Parks, that was what is it, a middle class Butlins, isn't it? Really,
Yeah.
You know, it's nice. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Nothing
I've
against
never
people
been. I do
who
want to
wanna
go,
there.
but
It'd be brilliant. The age your kids are, they'd have a wicked time. You know, set them off in the
it always
swimming
looks
pool.
fantastic whenever I see it.
Yeah, no, it is. It's very expensive though.
Well, that's what I was about to say. Like friends of mine go and they look at the pictures and they're like, on the bikes we're doing, and like, they're all in there. It's like, yeah.
But you've got to pay
and
for
then,
everything.
and then it's like I spent like £1,600 for like 5 days in fucking
Penrith.
Yeah. Well, so I've never been on that count.
No, so it was like sort of Centre Parks is sort of high turnover treatments and try and sell them loads of products, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Which is fair play, you know. It got much speed and I enjoyed it for what it was. But you know, I just wanted something more and a little bit more holistic. Mm. So I was lucky. I got a job at a lovely little like a day spa. Sadly, no longer there. It's a Jack Wills now in the centre of York. It was called Alchemia Spa, and that was set up by an amazing woman. That she was very sort of holistically minded, beauty background, had really nice. The products were all organically sourced, processed. Even down to like the St John's wort oil that they used. The St John's wort would be harvested on St John's Day.
Oh wow!
Because it's like, honestly, she was an amazing
Capturing
woman.
the energy and all.
Yeah,
that
she was
stuff.
into all the different energies. But it was really good because if you're having a bad day and it was a full moon, you could just blame it on that. And she, just a lovely woman. It's like, it's a full moon, Julie. What do you expect? But it was a lovely place to work and right in the centre of York. And they sent me on a little bit more training. When I was there, I don't know if you heard of Hope ear candles, which is just like a cylinder that you put. So I did my training for that. And then sent me on a really good training course for hot stone massage, something called Le Stone, which absolutely fabulous. Training that. I went down to Stratford upon Avon. And it was just 3 days of giving and receiving the treatment. Now, you're told in your training, for clients when they come for massage, you're meant to leave like 72 hours between each treatment. We're having 2 and 3 a day. By the 3rd day we were coming round, I was seeing flowers.
God, I bet.
The lot. Honestly, it was immense. It was like really good training. So I did the hot stone training there and the Hope ear candles. Managed to save a little bit of money up while I was working there and went back to Thailand and did some Thai massage training.
You went back to Thailand?
It didn't happen this time, don't worry.
Right, but what I want to ask you though is, so the first time you go to Thailand, you travel with the girlfriend?
Yeah.
Had you ever been before?
No.
So...
We literally booked the tickets from CFAX, remember CFAX?
God, yeah, off the teletext.
Waiting for it to go around, get the number, and I think we got tickets through Student Travel Association or something.
Right,
it used to be like a big thing sort of thing. Booked the tickets, bought the Rough Guide Lonely Planet, one of those. Didn't look at it till we got to Bangkok. When we landed, shit ourselves. What the... Because it's just, you think, it's hot. It's a different level, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
and just being sat in the airport going, shit. Luckily, it's like some backpacker go, you wanted to go into town? Follow me. And then we were in and we were off and stuff like that. But that would have been 99 we did that.
Okay. So it affected you though, the place?
Oh, yeah.
You loved the place?
Yeah. The food, the people, the smells, the massage, just the pace of life.
So that first time you went then, the holistic thing hadn't started?
No,
the whole journey into... which is ironically kind of a serendipitous career path you've ended up on.
But I had my first Thai massage when I went to Thailand that time. So that, when I was learning, I knew there was this thing of Thai massage and what it was. And Brilliant. It was like, it'd be amazing if I could go back there and I could learn.
So you accumulate as you end up, like we say, serendipitously, you're in this job, you end up with the gig at Centre Parks, then you're in the little boutique place, and then it's like, back to Thailand. Let's go and learn some Thai stuff.
And literally, as I was going to go out to Thailand, I was at my friend's house and I got a phone call, and it was Martin, who he'd been to Thailand and done the Thai massage course. Right. And then gone to Australia. So I thought it was in Australia. Get this phone call, and I was like, guess what, mate? I'm going to be in Chiang Mai in 3 days. He's like, oh, good, I'll stick around. I'll wait for you. I'm here.
Oh, wow.
I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, I went to Australia. It wasn't for me. I'll come back, and while I was doing a 3-week training course at a place called TMC in Chiang Mai, which is quite well renowned sort of place to go and learn.
So this trip was this trip was to go and learn.
Well, it was 2 months, so it was a month of learning and a month of enjoying myself.
Yes.
So I could get the time off work and unpaid and saved up a little bit, and I got a little bit of an inheritance actually from an auntie from Lincoln.
Oh, how fucking bizarre is that? That's because for people, listeners, watchers, viewers, we are in Lincoln, Lincoln City, historical Lincoln. As we
It's
speak.
historical, yeah. So I'd got these bits of money and I could afford to do it. So then I went out. Martin told me where he was, went and found him in Chiang Mai. And I had 3 weeks in Chiang Mai doing the course. So while I was doing that, Martin was off doing his thing during the day. We'd meet up on the night time, go out, do this, that and the other. And I think I'd been there for about a week and a half, and Martin was like, well, I'm going to go home in 3 weeks. But I was out there for 2 months. There's no way I'm going home and leaving you out here and knowing this is... Because he just got some money from a sale of a... So he's quite flush. So he came, he was like, I'm going to extend me visa, and I'm going to stay a bit longer with you. So in the time that we were in Chiang Mai, I was at school all day. Martin was out one day and he was doing his emails and stuff. I mean, it's probably still the same out there now. Email cafes everywhere. Really good place to meet people as well, because you go in there, you're white, you speak English, before you know it, you're off having a 3-day adventure with someone.
Yeah, magic.
So when Martin was in there, he got talking to this American guy who lived in a place called Pai. I don't know if you've been.
Oh, I know Pai. Yeah, I'm aware of it.
Yeah, northern Thailand. He was like, if you're into massage, there's a really good teacher in Pai. You should check him out. And meanwhile, while I was at the massage school, there was a guy called Chris who was British. He'd been up in Pai and he was asking we're going to go travelling. I think we're going to go up to this place called Pai. He said, I'll come with you. I know people there and stuff like that. So it linked in. Pai, Mr. Jan's there. We'll go up there for a week. We'll learn off him. So we went up, and I think we went up, and the next morning Martin got up and went to try and find Mr. Jan. And he went to see him and he said, I can't teach you this week, but if you come next week, I can teach you then. So, we'll just stay in Pai for 2 weeks then instead of one. We later found out that he quite often does that as a little test with people.
See if you stick around.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
So that was it. So we had a week chilling. It was mushroom season as well there, so that was quite good.
Mushrooms in Thailand. Lots of fun.
Yeah. And then we went back and did the training with Mr. Jan, and he was amazing. We went for 4 days to learn the body massage, but because we were in the flow of learning, we got through the body massage quite quickly, and then he taught us the Thai foot with the sticks that they use and stuff like that. So we got an extra treatment. But the nice thing was we worked on his family. So it was
cool.
like his wife, it's got to have been his mother-in-law and his daughter. And it was just like a time-lapse photograph of 20 years, like the difference between them all and stuff like that. So we were practicing like the Thai foot massage and stuff on them there. And after we'd finished our training, we went down to the islands. And obviously we've been practicing on the Thais. We hadn't practiced on each other. We started to practice on each other with the same pressure we were using on the Thai people.
Hey, wait, fucking hell! All right.
It was just like special. There's no airy-fairy messing around with like Thai. You've got a knot there, I'll go in and I'll get it out in 30 seconds. Whereas we warmed the area up with straight in there. We realised we had to rein it sort of back in there quite a lot and stuff. It was, it was just...
It's intriguing, when you see... I don't know how many... I love Thai massages. It would be part of my everyday.
Well, you can do out there, can't you?
Oh, yeah. When I was working out there, I had, it was part of my day. It was, I'd finish work at whatever, have my lunch, and then I'd go down the beach and see the same 3 ladies, and I'd spend whatever it was, 40 baht. And have a beautiful hour just full massage. Is amazing. But it's amazing you see these little ladies, particularly that I used to see, and the force that they can generate.
Yeah. Because I always laugh when I've worked in spas in this country, when people have gone, we better have the bloke, we want a strong massage. It's like, I can go deep, don't get me wrong, but I've worked with some girls and had Thai massages that you'd look at them and you'd think there's no way they can, and they knock 7 bells out of you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's technique, isn't it?
Yeah, of
it's knowing
course.
where to hit and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, when we went to the islands, we were practicing. We knew that we had to sort of rein it in a little bit. So came back from Thailand, went back to work in York. So that was good. I was there for sort of quite a while.
Still at the same shop?
Yeah.
So did you bring any of that into the culture of the shop then?
Yeah, well, I was trying to bring in the Thai massage and the Thai foot massage. The Thai foot massage was more sort of, and is more, I do more of that than the Thai body, because Thai body, you do it on the floor, people are clothed on the mats and stuff like that, whereas a lot of our spas aren't set up for that. I have taken it other places, but you need it's like a futon mattress, isn't it, and stuff like that. Yeah. So I did do the Thai foot massage there, but not the Thai body and stuff like that. And while I was there, I decided I got itchy feet and we wanted to go travelling. So the big plan was me and my friend Martin, we're going to go down to Cornwall for the summer and do massage around campsites and stuff like that. And he had his transit van that was changed into a camper and had big stickers. It was called the Buddha bus. It had big stickers on the side and stuff like that. So I went down to Cornwall where there was all these cool VWs, and everyone was more impressed by a Ford Transit because it had all these Buddhist sayings and a picture of a Buddha on the side. We didn't make great amounts of money when we were down in Cornwall. We came up to the lakes as well, but I still knew I wanted to work away. So I looked into some different agency websites for jobs around the world, and I wanted to go travelling to India, and the first job that came up was for a spa in the Himalayas called Ananda in the Himalayas, which is set up in the foothills of the Himalayas, just outside of a little place called, my mind's just gone blank now. Rishikesh, sorry.
You do well to remember this.
I'm dreadful with names of places, Just outside of a place called Rishikesh, which you might not think you've heard of, but you definitely will have done, because it's where that gentleman behind you,
right, we're talking
Mr. Paul McCartney, went to in the 60s.
Okay.
With the Maharishi.
Is it?
That's where their ashram was in Rishikesh.
Okay.
So my flat was the opposite side of the Ganges, where they all went.
Where they had that Indian experience.
That was a bit dodgy, And the ashram's still there.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And were you aware of that at the time?
Yeah. But they've done nothing with it.
Okay.
It's just there and stuff. But absolutely, going to India is like...
Yeah, somewhere I've never been that I would love to go. And
it's
hopefully...
like Mos Eisley Space Canteen at Star Wars. Honestly, you just see anything and everything. And honestly, it's amazing. It's fantastic. It's hideous. It's horrible.
Yeah.
It's the best place. All within 30 seconds, you have those emotions. It's proper sort of sensory overload and stuff, like when you're there. So I went to work, like say, Ananda in the Himalayas, and it's set in the grounds of what used to be Louis Mountbatten's palace when he was the Viceroy of India. Oh, very, very posh. Yeah. The only way I'd get into a place like that is by working there.
Yes.
Because when I first got the job, it's through the agencies, and it was all emails and phone calls, and all my mates were like, "You're going to end up in a tin shack with a yak farmer," and they're like, "What are you doing? You've never."
Yeah, you're lunatic.
It'll be all right. I'll be fine. So the first email back went, because my flat wasn't ready at the time, so I was staying in the palace.
It's not going bad, guys. It's not going bad.
I mean, I didn't get paid a lot out there, but the experience was amazing.
I think that's obviously what I imagine viewers and listeners are knowing, as you've alluded to, earning money a couple of times. But there's a bigger thing happening, isn't there? But whenever we go out of our comfort zones and we seek experience, and we're blagging it on the one hand because we want to go out there and see something, and this, whatever it is, position can facilitate that. Yeah. But you still got to do the grind. You still got to do the thing. And that's when the magic happens. Yeah. When you put yourself in a position, willing to do something just to get into the position, that's when you'll actually come across things that are waiting for you.
You'll know yourself, having lived in a country, is very different to a fortnight's holiday there, because you get to see what annoys the people. They all think you're amazing when you first get there, but then, you just,
Another Falang.
You're nothing special and stuff like that. But I had an amazing time there, really. Like, say, most of the time I was in Rishikesh, Ananda. And I mean, if you were having a bad day, your treatment rooms would have like glass walls, probably about as big as that wall is there. You'd be looking out over the Himalayas doing your treatments. Monkeys would be walking past the room, and peacocks, and eagles flying in the sky. So it's like, it's
amazing.
It's a night, and just met so many wonderful people, because there were people from India that worked there.
How did they sort of bring you in, the Indian people?
Oh, they loved me.
Really?
Yeah. No, and I mean, the thing is as well, sort of tourism over certainly in India, is quite similar to like coolness, if you like, as to working in the media in this country.
Okay.
So to work in like the high-end hotels in India, they've all got degrees, whether you're the chambermaid, front of house, chefs, whatever. So what they'll do is they'll go around the universities, and people that have done travel and tourism, doing it, I need 8 people to work at our hotel, can we have 8 people, please? Then you'd get there, then you'd be told what job you were being trained to do. It's not a career path of
I'll start here and aim for there.
Yeah, and I can remember talking to one of the housekeepers once, like, have you always been a housekeeper? So essentially a cleaner in the hotel. She's like, oh no, before I was lucky enough to get this kind of work, I was only a teacher. So she left teaching to go and work in a hotel to be a cleaner.
And that's kind of a common...
Yeah, it's better paid jobs.
Wow.
Yeah. And
why is that then?
Because...
That seems really strange.
It's the money, the investments there. They're a very serving... to the point that for us it can seem a little bit strange and a bit weird. You've had one drink out of your cup, you put it up, topping it back up for you and stuff like that. But just met some amazing people out there. So there were a lot of Indians, obviously, who were in India that worked there, and a lot of beautiful Tibetan people as well. Because just up the road from Rishikesh is where a lot of Tibetans are in exile from when they walked out and stuff like that. And just some of the most beautiful people, like physically and spiritually, just so chilled out. Like one of the girls she was similar sort of age to me. She had left Tibet when she was 13 or 14. She'd walked out over the mountains dressed as a Nepali because of the Chinese, the oppression, stuff like that. Hadn't seen her mum in years, and
God,
just such amazing
difficult
people.
Life and a difficult existence.
Yeah, well, it's just incomprehensible to us.
Just
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just.
I watched a documentary recently, actually, called Sherpa.
Yeah. A friend of mine was on about
the
that.
Nepalese people, and the
just
Sherpas take everything up for the Westerners up Mount Everest.
Yeah.
And I managed to wangle it. So you listen to the podcast, I unschool my kids. So documentary, and we're watching whatever they've been watching, and with all kids stuff, it's overwhelming in the end. So I'm like, I tell you what, let's watch a documentary. And I found Sherpa, and they're camping.
Yeah.
Which we do a lot of. So I'm like, this is about, guys. I said, I know what this one's about, guys. They're going to camp on the top of Mount Everest, the biggest mountain, and give them the whole lead in. So they were like, okay, watch this. Anyway, I didn't think they'd last. So they watched this documentary with me. And I was explaining, that people try and conquer this mountain, this amazing, huge mountain, the biggest one in the world. And it takes like 8 weeks, 10 weeks, and people die trying to do it. Little did I know, I didn't know about the culture of the Sherpas, and the idea that these Nepalese natives who know the mountain work there, and they're the ones who carry all the gear up.
It's a badge of honour, isn't it, to be called Sherpa?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and when you realise how much gear goes up there, because, I do a bit of walking, bit of hiking and stuff these days, camping and stuff, 16 kilos in my bag, and they're taking up, like, everything.
Yeah, and that's uphill, it's not flat Lincolnshire.
Up the fucking Mount Everest, man. And actually during the documentary, it's one of the worst years ever where they lose a lot of people and there's snowfall, avalanche and stuff. Anyway, but my boys were watching it, but I was amazed at like the simple culture and the story played out really, which I think in our culture we're faced with now, even in the West, the idea that we're so technologically advanced and everything now, and everything's so easy that we've lost the meaning. And the guy, the central Sherpa character, who the documentary was following, his family, he was about to go on his 22nd summit. He would have been a world record, like 22 times of the summit up to Everest. And it kept sort of playing out with his family, that kind of this paradox of like, they're really worried, obviously, that he's never going to come home, and it's a miracle that he's come home all these times. They obviously earn a lot of money. There's a lot of prestige in it for them. But it's so dangerous.
A lot of money is it a lot of money, or is it a lot of money by their standards?
I think it was, I mean, I probably got this wrong, but I think it's 5 times the money that they would get for something,
if there were,
within that kind of area. But no, compared to what's happening with the Westerners coming over and the commercial people putting on the trips and everything, not a lot. But the what I took away was a bit like the story of Santiago in The Alchemist. Like, in the end, the simple life of farming and just producing his food, which he actually went back to, didn't go back on the mountain after this last difficult thing that happened. He just stayed there, and his family, and like listened to his family talking, and that he's getting a little tiny window into that world. It's still an old world.
I tell you what is a really
beautiful
good documentary to watch is on the iPlayer, The Eagle Hunter.
The Eagle Hunter, and it's
about in Mongolia. Right. It's traditionally they hunt with golden eagles still, and it's the men that do it, but there's a girl that says she wants to do it. And I won't ruin it for you.
Oh, okay. The Eagle Hunter, we'll make a note of that.
Yeah, it's really... And I'm not one for watching things with lots of subtitles. I'm dyslexic. It runs on too quickly. If I want to read, I'll read a book sort of thing. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of subtitles in it, and I watched it. So that...
Okay, so it kept you...
It kept me hooked. Yeah. And it's just culturally the differences of sort of how sexist things can be, but just absolutely amazing. Yeah, it could be a real life Disney film, you know what I mean? It's worth looking at that. The Eagle Hunter, yeah.
So the Himalayas, then, this experience in the Himalayas, and the people and the culture and the I guess the like you say, looking out that glass, through that glass wall at the Himalayas, and the Ganges and God knows what. That's
incredible. It's immense. And again, I thought, it's Asia, maybe it'll be quite similar to Thailand, and it isn't. I'd been to Goa on a fortnight's holiday before, but Goa again is very different. That sort of India for wimps. Everything's quite easy down
India
there.
For wimps, I love that.
Well, just because they've had tourists for years.
Yeah, so
and everything's set up, and it's you don't get as much hassle there as you do in other places and things like that. So it's like anyone who's been a guy, it's one of those things, sort of thing. But sorry, what were we saying?
We were just talking about the impression that the Himalayas had left on you.
Yeah, no, it was like fantastic place to be. I couldn't have been made any more welcome there by the people I work with. Oh, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, no, I was saying it was all Indians and Tibetans who worked in the hotel, and then there were 3 or 4 of us that were Western that worked there. So there's myself, and then my housemate Miriam, who was a German girl, and our flat was Little Europe. Because, as you'll know yourself, as living in country, as much as you love it, it can get to you. Just the cultural differences and just all the different funny things that would happen.
Tiny little details.
Yeah, if you laughed in front of that, they'd be like, "What are you laughing at?" But to someone who knows, it's we'd come in, we'd lock the door on the night time, and we could chill out. It could be Little Europe. It could be the standard thing would be on our days off when we'd walk around Rishikesh, because even though it's mainly grey now, I'm quite blonde, and in the sun it goes even more blonde, so I stand out quite like that. Miriam being German, obviously she's got to be blonde haired as well. Mm-hmm. We'd walk around Rishikesh on our day off, and you'd get people come up to you, want their photographs taken with you, giving you a baby to hold for photographs on your day off. Oh, I need photographs of you. I'd say, just 3 today. Oh, you're losing it a little bit. So, really welcoming. Sometimes it can be a bit much if you're having a bit of a down day, but on the whole, such lovely, people in there. And I've always had that sort of link in there. I've gone back to India to do my yoga teacher training out there, did some more travelling and stuff like that. But it gets under your skin. It's
Right.
like, if you like reading novels, if you haven't read Shantaram.
Okay.
And I read, it's a true story, and I didn't realise until I was halfway through the book that it was a true story. And it's about a guy who was, or is, Australian. He'd been put in prison for armed robbery. He managed to break out of prison and via a dodgy New Zealand passport got to India, to Mumbai, and ended up living in the shanty towns and stuff like that, in the slums. Ended up working for the Indian mafia, gun run into Afghanistan. And he paints such good pictures of India. Like it opens up going on about how the airport's all glass and shiny and sparkly, and it's amazing. And then you get out and it's all dirty and dusty. And I don't know. They're like, but everyone's smiling, everyone's happy, and it just paints such good pictures. So that's really worth
I'll
the read.
check that out. Yeah,
it's a good one. There's a follow-on up as well called In the Shade of the Mountain or something like that. But they're really thick books with tiny writing, but real good reading.
And they're true stories. That's his. That's his journey.
Yeah.
That's
and
his
it's
story.
one of those things. I was halfway through it, and then I was like, "How can that?" It was like the reverse of Tiger King when I found out that was real. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Because I got halfway through that. I thought, is this real or not?
Tiger
I
King,
I waited till the end. And I was like, I remember Louis Theroux now. But it's like, how is that real?
Yeah.
But
I think he's just done something again, hasn't he? He's been back
the
to see
catch
him.
up and stuff. Yeah, it's mad stuff, that.
Yeah.
But so India it gets under your skin. And like I say, it's hard going, but it's brilliant and it's worth it. And you'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll just...
Yeah, it's one of those places with the kids, I follow Rob de Bank. I like Rob de Bank's... I like, obviously, the music he's produced and Sunday Best Records, and I used to like his shows on the radio, and I follow his family a bit because his wife, I think she does like an annual trip, I think every year, maybe every couple of years, and they go as a family.
Yeah.
She heads over to India to get the fabrics and certain things that she needs and wants. And they've got 3 little kids, and they take their kids with them, and I just watched him document it through his stories and stuff, and it's a real hands-on kind of, reminded me about of Thailand a little bit, when it's just busy, full on, as you say, it could be a shiny building there and a mud hut there.
Oh, yeah.
But there's something about what you've said, I hear that a lot, and that's what I've seen a lot, which is this kind of, it's all possible there. It's all possible, and you will have a difficult time as much as anything else.
Oh, yeah.
But that appeals, and I do like the idea of taking the kids and having that kind of
definitely
vivid experience.
Like the sort of Goa and stuff like that, it'd be really easy, and you'd get a house out there. Like their season runs from sort of November through till March, so perfect if you wanted to go for a winter. And you'd get somewhere so cheap, and the skills they would pick up along the way. You know what I mean? It's
that's the kind of thing.
It's that good. It's that 12 hours of light, 12 hours of dark. It's which is weird to us that 6 o'clock every day. It's bump. It's
it's
dark.
like that in Thailand. It was weird. Yeah, every day.
Yeah, and it's. So I've been going out there, and I'll still hopefully. I mean, at the moment, you don't know what to believe, do you, with how bad things are out there?
We could rear off here into all sorts. We'll not go there, but hopefully we'll be able to travel of our own sovereign choice. At some point.
Well, that's it. Yeah. So I was out in India when I was there. Like I say, most of the time I was in Rishikesh. I did do a little bit of time, about 6 weeks, in a place called Bangalore.
Oh, I've heard of that.
And you'll have spoken to people in Bangalore as well, because that's where all the call centres are.
Okay.
So it used to be known as the Garden City back in the days of the Raj, when we owned the place. But now it's the traffic city, and it's hideous. It's just roads with traffic everywhere, mixed in with that, rickshaws, cows, pollution, the smog and everything. It was hard going being in the city, but again, a good experience, because it's just, again, a hotel I wouldn't get into if I wasn't working there, and got to see the sort of the city life of things a little bit. But it was like if you were coming to this country and you thought you were going to be in the Peak District or the Lake District, and you got dropped in Birmingham or in Salford or something like that, I'm not a fan of cities at the best of times, let alone when there's cows wandering around and people running you over and stuff. So I didn't enjoy that as much. But I love my time in Rishikesh. Like I said, I did my 6 months out there. And I could have stayed on, but the pay was just, I say the pay was next to nothing. But I've never been so well off. I was having clothes made for me, jewellery, because I was working 6 days a week. I had one day
is your
off.
skill set coming along as well, Simon? Are you learning stuff?
Not so much in the treatment side there. I was hoping that I would do, because they were big on doing like Ayurveda and stuff, which is, for people that don't know, it's a traditional form of holistic health from India, from a place called Kerala. And they had lots of Keralans there. I actually got to teach a little bit out there of sort of Western reflexology and stuff like that. So the reason I was there was to show them how we do things in the West. Which was a bit of a lie, because you wouldn't have got away with a lot of the things over here that they do there. But because it was funny, they were all like, oh, I want to learn how to do reflexology or a back massage. Like, but you can do like Ayurvedic treatments.
Yeah.
But to them, that's nothing.
Of course.
The Western treatments are the ones that they think they can.
Isn't it strange? We always get that point of perspective where we think the thing over there that we haven't got or we don't do is the thing that...
Well, it's like the advertising on the television out there. Over here, it's for fake tans. Over there, it's
white
for
cream.
whitening,
whitening.
And it is. It's literally just the flip round of it, isn't
Everybody
it?
wants the other thing, which I think is something you end up learning when you get into this holistic way of thinking, or certainly simplifying your life. As you mentioned, you say there, the feeling of being in a city doesn't vibe with you as much as being in open space, expansive space, and noise and products and colours and fucking wrappers and packaging, and you start to kind of, I don't know, get past that a bit and simplify, which is why I love the camping. I've been banging on about the camping.
Yeah, no, I'm going to have a go at some wild camping, I think.
Fucking hell, the bliss of just having such a simple, rationed selection of things that I need, shelter, food.
Well, that's it, we overcomplicate things.
And then this sense of awe of like just being in this simple space and like got everything you need, and you just I don't know, tuned into the whatever that simple DNA echo is in us somewhere.
That's it. It's been confused over the years. Oh, you need this, you need that. You'll be happy if you got that. No, well, I'll just be me with that more expensive car.
And this makes that easier. So you want one of these as well, and this will make that even quicker. So get one of those. And none of us get stressed out by technology, because it always works. Yeah,
and it's
it's mad, isn't it?
That's it. Yeah.
So you're traveling. What happens after India then?
India. So I've got the travelling bug working away by now. So while I was out there, I started looking what else was coming on, because I knew I was coming back to what would be summer seasons in Europe. So I knew there'd be stuff out there in mainland Europe and stuff. So I applied for and got a job with Mark Warner.
Okay.
Which you will have heard of. It's who the McCanns went on holiday with. When,
right.
Yeah, actually, really good company to work for. One of the nicest people I've ever worked for. I don't know what happened there. It wasn't by resort.
Right.
Couldn't tell you. A company to work for me, they were brilliant. So for people that don't know, Mark Warner are very sort of active holidays. So sailing, windsurfing, tennis, skiing and snowboarding in the winter. So you can imagine those sort of activities, you've got certain sort of families that come and do it. So I applied for and got a job out in Greece, out in Kos. And I went and worked I did 3 seasons for them. My first season I went out to Greece, and I was just a normal run-of-the-mill therapist with them. I think about 7 or 8 of us, just doing my treatments. Started doing a bit of yoga for the first time properly while I was out there.
Okay.
Started swimming again, because I was big into my swimming when I was a kid. Just getting a bit more healthy. By this point, I'm hitting my mid-30s. So I'm realising that... Yeah,
the body starts slowing down.
It does. And plus, I was mid-30s and I was working with a lot of 18 up to 25-year-olds, and you realise, oh, God, I'm glad I'm not that young anymore. And started getting a little bit more involved in my own sort of holistic health. I've got scoliosis, which, for you who don't know, it's like curvature of the spine.
Okay.
And it comes from sort of growth spurts when you were younger. I did a paper round with a heavy bag,
Oh, so it kind of just taking your alignment out.
Yeah, it takes your alignment out. And I struggled with it. and bit sort of back pain and stuff like that throughout my life and what have you. Never really thought much about it, but it was getting sort of a little bit worse as you're getting older and things were a little bit sore. And it's like, well, I can take some responsibility and do a bit of holistic healing, or I can just carry on as I'm going, go to the doctors, get painkillers till the point I need metal rods put in my back. And do you know what?
Yeah.
Don't really want to be taking painkillers or having metal rods put in my back. So started swimming again when I was away, because when I went to work in Greece, you got an hour's lunch and everyone went and sat by the pool. And growing up, I was always a swimmer, played water polo, things like that. So a pool, for me, isn't something to lay around, it's something to swim up and down in. Yeah. And so on the first day I got in the pool, and my head told my body to swim like I did when I was 16, 17, and I'd never abused my body or anything like that. My head was, come on, you can do this. I'm like, fucking hell, what's going on here?
Yeah.
But over the time, and quite quickly, because of like muscle memory and stuff like that, so it's quite interesting with, you're sort of quite interested in things that you do when you're younger that come into your later life. Like I've always said, when I was younger, I used to do a lot of swimming and stuff. You know, as you're getting older, you have an argument, I don't want to go, parents, get up there, you know, get your swimming done. And they were right, because I've learned to surf, I've got no fear of water and things like that. So it's these things that you learn when you're younger that you don't even realise you're learning, and have been memories created for down the line that do some good, really. You know what I mean?
Of course, yeah.
And you don't you don't realise until
much later.
Well,
yeah, often it is. And that's what's really interesting about, you know, just to quickly interject, because it does. It's poignant in the sense that I had a guy on the podcast who you might have seen it, Alfie Cohn, who wrote the book Unconditional Parenting. He's a New York guy.
Oh, right. I have to have a look out for that.
Yeah, he was interesting, but he wrote this book that was really pivotal for me, and talking about how, especially in the situation that I'm in with kids at home, like how do you find out what they're into, and how do you sort of run with it and find that education without it being the formal thing that we think we need to do, which is sit down, write about it, check it, right, you got that right, you got that wrong. Yeah. So that, as you mentioned, things like swimming, we take it all for granted, just moving your body, whatever it is, you know, like I'm just started to crack it, I think, when I recognise with the kids, they're into this thing at the moment. Yeah. And just trying to sort of nurse it without sort of saying, right, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, or, you know, we need to do
because as quick as they're into something,
they're gone again.
It's gone again.
And as soon as you sort of put a, you know, pushing hand in there, or, you know, you put some emphasis on it, it seems to, I don't know. Yeah. So, that's something that I'm seeing a lot. And with my little boy, Sonny, at the minute, we were doing Khan Academy Learning, which is an online, universal kind of free learning platform. Right. Amazing. I started doing it in Thailand, actually. Anyway, we've been doing it recently, and they've got a thing with Pixar. They've done like a kids entry level. They've done these videos with Pixar, who makes Toy Story and all that. And he was doing this bit of a course, and there was colour stuff, and he's all learning about animation and like the basics of colour and all this. And he was a bit like dragging his feet with it. And he'd been asking me about making a video for a song he'd done. He's made a little track on GarageBand, and he wanted to make a video for it. Anyway, that was happening in the background, and he had a go at this Khan Academy Learning with this, and he sort of did all right with it. I was a little bit like, you know, let's try the Khan, you know. Anyway, a couple of weeks go by, and he wants to make his video, so I go, okay, we'll make your video. Then he realises that there's a colour wheel on there, which we'd seen in the Khan Academy thing, and there's a couple of these elements of what he'd started to learn in this Khan Academy about colour and grading and all this stuff. So then he was like, Daddy, you know, can we want to go back on Khan Academy so he could learn more? So I kind of could step back at that point again. So it's that kind of balance of like knowing, for me, you know, how much to sort of push them, because I do need a shove now and again. Oh, yeah, you know, if you don't get told to get in the water,
YouTube all day,
exactly, yes.
You know what I mean? So would we. But
so that's what sometimes do.
Well, yeah.
So
I'm with Mark Warner. We're in Greece.
And you're going in the pool on your lunch breaks,
swimming,
and you think you're still 18 in your body, and you're not.
I'm not. But it came back quite quickly, luckily, because of the muscle memory and stuff like that. And I started doing yoga again. Doing yoga properly. Sorry, on my first season out.
How did the yoga come around then?
Because within the area I worked, the treatments was called Viva, like the spa sort of area, and we had a yoga teacher. And my boss, towards the end of the season, I said to her, "Oh, if I go along to the yoga classes, I can talk to people and they might book and come and have treatments with me then." So every day it was in my column. So you just go and do it. So it's that whole thing of just getting the regiment in there and doing it. So I'd sign up, go along, talk to people. A few of them came for treatments, some didn't. But, it was starting to get me to do yoga again. Yoga for the first time. I'd done the odd class here and there, but to do it a daily practice and stuff like that, because things like that, a daily practice is ideally what you want to go for. Obviously, people, if you've got kids, families, jobs, stuff like that, it's not practical. But because it was part of my working day, I didn't even question it. Whereas if it had been at the end of my day and I hadn't been part of my work, I would have probably gone, I can't be bothered.
Yes.
But they were quite good like that. They'd let you go and do other things because it would whip up trade elsewhere and stuff like that.
All ties together,
ties
doesn't it?
in. And it was a lovely environment to work in because you're working with people that are on holiday. So half the battle, don't get me wrong, you get professional complainers wherever you go, and luckily there was a 15-minute transfer from the hotel, from the airport to the hotel, and the customer service team were amazing. They'd know who all the families were. Yeah. So they'd come in and it'd be like, right, it's the Joneses in room 37 you want to watch for and stuff like that. So it'd be so fun, as though they didn't think we spoke to each other. We all knew what was going on. So I had a really good summer out there. And while I was out there, they were taking people on for the winter season. So I applied for and got a job as the manager of the spa for the winter in my hotel. Manager of a team of one, which was me. So I had my treatment room, but as part of that, you had to be like a duty manager in the hotel one night a week as well. So I used to just go and help out in the kitchens and stuff like that. So that was quite good fun. You could go skiing and snowboarding on your day off. I went snowboarding twice. I'm clumsy enough on terra firma. And I was really worried if I did my wrist or my fingers, I'm sent home. Yeah. Whereas, if you're a chalet maid and that happens, you're right, and carry on with your job. There were people, like our manager, he'd been in the snow park one day and he grew up on skis. He'd lived in Alaska. His brother's been an Olympic cross-country skier. Went over this jump the wrong way, landed it, 3 compound fractures in his vertebra. So he broke his back in 3 places.
Jesus.
But on the same day, the handyman who I shared a room with came back to the hotel. He's like, it's really bad. I've broken my back. It was like, how many vertebrae have you done? It's like 1. It's like, Ben's beaten you. He's done 3. But they were like getting in proper nasty sort of, not for me. I'd sooner be in the water and stuff like that. It's, So, I did my winter there as a manager. And in the meantime, the big boss, the area manager, she left. So I took over her job. So for the summer, I had 5 or 6 different resorts I was overseeing. Plus,
wow. So that's a jump up then.
Yeah. You do like resort visits and stuff like that. And plus I went back to the place in Greece that I was the summer before, and I ran that one myself with my own team and stuff like that. That was less fun being management.
Yeah, it always is. It always is. It's everybody I ever speak to.
Yeah. No, I love doing the treatments, literally all puns intended, being hands-on and stuff like that. Whereas being stuck in an office, looking at spreadsheets, having to tell people off because they haven't sold enough products when I never used to sell products myself. It's just, I can do without this.
That middle ground of just the passion or the excitement, the creativity part just gets lost in the bottom line.
Yeah. Well, that's it. It just wasn't for me. But the good thing was, while I was working for Mark Warner, how they paid you got a X amount a week in your hand and X amount a week as a retainer, that if you made it to the end of the season, you got a big wedge of cash in your bank account. So in that time when I was in France and I decided to go back to do the summer, me and my friend Martin had got in contact with each other again. He'd been to India to do his teacher training, but we were like, we'll go away for the winter. We'll go back to Thailand, but we'll do Cambodia, Vietnam and Laos this time. Yeah. Because we hadn't done them before. And that's what we did. So I worked that summer. It was brilliant. I had I think it was a 7-day winter that year. Came back from Greece in like, say, November the 7th, and then flew out to Thailand 14 days later. Oh, that's how it should be, just a tiny, tiny little gap. So we went out there to learn a little bit more, to travel around, to see some other countries. So first got there, we were in Thailand, and I did a little bit more training in Chiang Mai.
Yep.
As you're probably more than well aware, it's up in the north, the northern capital, and there's lots of different courses you can do there, cookery courses. I think a lot of painting and things like that there as well. Lots of massage. I'd been there previously with TMC, and I think her name was Mama Net or something. They're all Mama someone, the teachers. Went, did a little bit of training there, did some travelling around, went through Laos, amazing country, so poor, but beautiful people, beautiful smiles, great massage, yeah. And especially being in places like Laos and Vietnam. Have you made it there yourself?
No, I've not done any of them. Cambodia I've been to, but that's it.
Right. But in like Laos and Vietnam, with the sort of strong communist roots there and stuff, it's really good seeing like the murals on the walls of like the brothers and sisters working in the fields with big like the propaganda pictures that you've seen. Oh wow, it's and hammers and sickles and stuff everywhere. So we were in Thailand, we worked our way around Laos, Vietnam. We did all the tunnels and from the Vietnam War and stuff like that. Went round into Cambodia. Beautiful. You say you've been. Did you do the killing fields or anything when you were there?
No. I just literally had to do a pass through on a visa.
A visa run. Yeah. Because like we went to the killing fields, which it's amazing.
I've read a lot about that. Something to do with the trees and the colour yellow, and
it's beautiful. But you look at the ground and there's bones everywhere, and it's just like if you didn't know what had happened, there's these lovely meadows with wildflowers and grass and butterflies just dancing around, and then millions of people like just wearing glasses and stuff killed. And we went to the high school that they used as a prison as well. There's the bed there where they electrocuted people on.
Yeah, I think I listened to a Radio Lab, a really cool Radio Lab episode about the killing fields of Cambodia, and I'm sure it was Radio Lab, and it was fascinating and heartbreaking as well. Yeah,
it was a bit, I mean, I'm 46, and I think it finished in like 75, the war and stuff. That's been my lifetime sort of thing. And we caught the tail end of a lady giving a tour, and in the Genocide Museum, and she's pointing to this picture. Oh, that's my brother, that's my sister, that's my mother, and out of my family of how many people it was, I'm the only one left thanks to the Khmer Rouge. And you're like, it's mad. And that's, because old little Pol Pot was working in kitchens over here and getting grief, wasn't he? And it's crazy.
Yeah, hell of a lot of history. And
and it's beautiful people again, but nothing but want to give you it all.
It always seems to be the case, Simon. It always seems to be the case that where it's more simple and there's less complication and less onus on go and get it and beat it, win it, own it. You just see
crazy
happier people.
Yeah, so then from Cambodia, we come back into Thailand. And at this point, you used to get a month on your visa. I don't know, but then when we did it, you only got 2 weeks. And as we went through and we saw we got 2 weeks, me and Martin looked at each other and go, oh, God, I wish we'd got a month. When you got 2 weeks, you've got to be careful what you wish for, because we got a month.
Right, okay, let's go there.
I didn't leave Thailand for another month.
Let's go there.
We'd been travelling around, and we'd actually met up with Martin's sister in Cambodia, and she said, when you go to Thailand, Koh Chang's really nice. You can chill out there.
Yeah, lovely island. That is.
Just down on the bottom there. So it might not come as much as a surprise to people out there looking at me and hearing my story. I quite like a smoke. Mm-hmm. And in Thailand, it's a bit dodgy. But back then there was a website that if you put where you were in the world, it'd tell you where you could go
and
and pick something up. And we did this when we were on travelling around, because we were there, we're doing a yoga, we're doing massage, we're having a little smoke, chilling out on a night time. Neither of us are big drinkers. It's our way of enjoying ourselves. So we've been travelling around for ages, and we'd got our little beach huts with the hammocks outside. And when we've been travelling around, it'd been lots of groups of just couples together, men and women travelling around, and me and Martin were trying, like, I like you, Martin, and this view's lovely, but I wish you were a more attractive woman. That was and we got to this place on the island, and it was actually, oh God, it's not all just couples, there are people there, and people are chatting away, and there's a full moon, no, half moon, whatever,
party.
Half moon.
They have every variation.
Yeah, there's
going,
one every weekend.
Dance,
yeah,
that's what I learned quickly.
Yeah, we'll go out tonight, and a chance to put on a proper pair of jeans and a proper t-shirt instead of a shirt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just to make a bit of an effort. We bought some t-shirts for Christmas presents for each other in Vietnam, so we'll wear those. And we're sat at Martin's beach hut, and I'm having a smoke, and I look up, and about 5 meters away from me, there's a policeman. I'm like, so Martin's in his room. I'm like, oh, hello, Mr. Policeman, like that. Oh, hello, Mr. Policeman. Yeah. And trying to get Martin, who was stoned on his bed, his bloke's coming, and we thought we were lucky because we had rolling tobacco and skins on the side, and he was like, what's that? I was like, oh no, it's just tobacco, it's just... Before we knew it, there were police everywhere, and they were in Martin's thing looking for, and he was like, oh no, I've just been drinking. And the lucky thing is it made no difference. He had an empty whiskey bottle in his room because he can flare, like cocktail waiter type thing.
Oh, yeah.
And he was just practicing doing that. I was like, oh no, I've just had whiskey. Like, no. Looking around, and they found a little packet with a little bit of weed in it.
Just a bit of Thai stick stuff.
Just Thai stick, yeah. Not even touched the edge really compared to stronger stuff. But, you're away, you're enjoying yourself.
Yeah.
Didn't think anything of it. Then they took me back to my room, searched that, there was nothing in there. Then handcuffs are on us.
Oh, wow. So did you not get a chance to negotiate a bit of a back door entry?
Hindsight's a brilliant thing. Because we were battered, we didn't know what was going on, and we thought, took us to handcuff, taken through the campsite, everyone, you know what I mean? And you're like, oh no.
Look at them daft phalangs.
Yeah, I'd like to put, I've never had any run-ins with the only run-in I'd ever had with the police before was when I was about 13 or 14. I was riding my bike home one night without any lights on it. And this is how long ago it is and how old it is. The local beat bobby was in the van, saw me, told me to get off my bike and let my back tyre down and walk my bike home. That's the only...
Policing's changed since then.
I'd had since then. You know what I mean? I'd never in any trouble or anything. So handcuffed, bundled into the back of a pickup truck.
That's a scary moment for you, I imagine.
It was just bizarre. It's like... Well, how can we're going to a full moon? What this? You know what I mean?
It always when you're somebody who smokes marijuana and I've done for years and years and years, you kind of take it for granted. I think I'm probably speaking fairly for most smokers that you're even breaking the law because it just seems so innocuous and it's clearly a substance that is
it's just there.
It's a fucking plant that makes people just generally nicer and calmer, people who use it over time.
That's it.
So the idea that all of a sudden you like faced with like, oh fuck, especially in a place like Thailand, I've had similar stories.
Well, that's it. So then we're swept off to the police station. We pick an interpreter up on the way down. We go down to the police station and then we're hauled into this room with the bloke who's in charge. And at this point we go, oh, if there's a fine to pay, we can pay you the fine. Too late. Paperwork started.
Yes, that's what they say. Yeah.
Shit. So we were claiming at this point, it's just rollers. We don't know what that is. Took us to do a piss test. I did mine. It came up straight away.
Did it?
And Martin's took probably, it felt like 10 minutes to go, oh, fuck it, he's going to get away with it. It's just me going on my own. I was so pleased when that line came, because we both were. Yeah. And it's like, oh, good God. Came up. So then it's obvious we've done it. We're put into a cell with about 5 other blokes, toilet in the centre.
Are they all Thai? Any foreigners?
Yeah, just me and Martin, everyone else Thai. Martin's going to sleep, goes, They're just on wooden floors, these are. He's got stung by a scorpion.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. I'm like, oh, what? We should get the people to help us. The people in the cellar just laughing at us. And, like, luckily there was a guy in there who was quite cool, who was like a trekking guide. Mm-hmm. And he just squeezed it, pulled it out. I was like, oh, that's all. You're all right. Don't worry.
Wow.
And that was it. So we were say it was a Friday night, we were in there and just didn't know what was going on.
So did you manage to be calm?
Luckily it was what the hell's going on at this point. It was like, it was still, well, are we going to get out? Are we not?
Did they manhandle you and shouting and stuff? Or were
no
they...
shouting, no. Perfectly polite. And then we were in the cell and this Thai woman and what turned out later to be an American guy turned up. And the question you've just asked me, was it just, were there any other foreigners in the thing? It wasn't. It was just me, Martin, and 3 or 4 Thais. And this Thai lady comes and goes, which are the Falang?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that'd be us too. But it turns out that she was from a local Christian church and they come out and they help people and so on. And she was amazing. She worked as an interpreter for us. She helped out. She got us to call the embassy, spoke to the bloke from the embassy. It was her who told us that we were going to be incarcerated, as she put it.
How much weed did you have?
I'll tell you at the end.
Right.
I'll tell you at the end.
Okay, yeah.
Because it all ties in quite nicely. So, yeah, what was I saying? She's
helping you out. She's mediating out, and she's telling you that you're going to be incarcerated.
Incarcerated unless we can come up with, I think it was $2,000 a piece for bail that you had to pay via, and it was like, we had the money in our bank account, but you can only take out £100 a day or something.
Oh, God,
like that.
yeah.
So we couldn't get it out, and the only other alternative was phoning back to the UK to family saying...
Get someone to kind of wire it or whatever.
Yeah, and it was like, I don't really want to phone my mum and dad saying that...
Yeah. I'm in jail,
I'm in
Mum.
jail for drugs in a foreign country.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
yeah.
My mum and dad are straight as anything, you know what I mean? It's like it wouldn't... They know what I do, but they don't approve sort of thing.
Yeah.
And, I mean, they know about it now, but it's
not the phone call you want to make,
that
is it?
wasn't going to happen. And luckily, Martin's very laid back. I'm quite laid back. I'm like, right, we're just going to have to go for it. And I mean, the lucky thing is, at the end of this, I haven't ended up with a criminal record and I didn't get bummed. And they were the only 2 things that I was, and literally I said that to Martin, and I was like, if we're going to put that, God, don't let them bum.
Yeah.
Because you see locked up abroad, all these prisons.
It's the classic cliche horror story for especially for somebody who isn't necessarily a criminal.
No,
somebody who's just unsuspecting, like, oh my God, it's all the worst things are going to happen.
Copper comes from sort of thing.
Yeah.
So we'd had talks with her, we'd had talks with the bloke in the embassy and stuff, and even down to before we went to court, they came back and there were proper like lay your hands on, say prayers and stuff. So we had this American bloke saying, kind of pray for it, with his hand on our head, serve them and take them, God.
Jesus Christ.
Like, what the hell?
That made me even more worried.
He gave us a Bible and stuff like that, which stitches up when we walked in the prison with a Bible. All the Christians thought we were real Christians and loved us. So we were like, well, we're not going. I mean, we can't phone home. We'll have to go to the court. So we went to the court. And when we were at the court, the copper that arrested us was there and was like, oh, you're going for bail, yeah? And I was like, no, we've not got the money. But like, you'll have to go to prison. It's like, yeah, we know. Went straight to mine. Oh, but you want bail? It's like, no, we'll whatever's coming to us, we'll just
We're going to give it a shot, mate.
Yeah, we'll give it a shot. Because they'd get a payoff at each level if
course,
we'd,
yeah.
and because then you need a solicitor. Oh, my brother-in-law's a solicitor; he can help you out.
Yeah.
So they would, we're getting nothing out of him. So we were remanded for 12 days. It's done 12 days at a time. So we thought, it's 12 days, we'll be out of here. So we were remanded. We were then put into the holding cells, and then we were taken from the court to the prison in the back of a Bedford Rascal van, it looked like, with bars on the window. You're just pushed in the back. There was no seat belts. You just crammed in.
Yeah.
Driven to the prison doors.
Which part of Thailand are you in at the moment? Is this Koh Chang?
We were on the mainland, so Chat Province.
Okay.
Which I think that's right. I might be wrong. I'm dreadful at. So, yeah, we were driven to the prison, and I was just, what the hell is going to happen here? Drove us in. We got out of the van. There was probably about 10 of us. Only me and Martin were Westerners. Opened the gate to let us in, and it was one of those, oh, thank God, because it was a Sunday, so it was their day off, and there were people just out exercising. You know, they had a boxing team, so they're all training. That game where they have like a little wicker football and they kick it over a badminton net.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called.
I think they call it. Is it football? I think they refer to it as. I'm not sure. It's like volleyball with feet.
Yeah. So they have a team for that, and they had a Bulls team as well. So they're all practicing, because within Thai prisons they have like matches against other prisons.
Yeah.
And say you're a really good Thai boxer, and
you can fight your way.
You can get out quicker and stuff like that, which is really good. Yeah. So there's all people doing that, but we're just, when we first go in, we're told to strip to our undies, and then we're given like the Thai fisherman pant short type things and a top to put on, and our clothes are taken away. And we've been given some bread and jam off the Christian woman, and all the people have pinched that off as well. Just take what you want, because in the prison, the security is done by, I think they were called commodores. I think they're people that had been in the Navy or something like that, and then go into the prison service. The outside of the administration is done by them, but the inside administration in the prison is run by the prisoners. So as you come to the end, people that are on long sentences, so like opium dealers and people like that have been in for 10, 15 years, as they get to their last 5 years, they'll do the admin of the prison on the inside.
Oh, okay.
So they got one of the guys who was on the boxing team, which was good for us, because you've got someone who you know who's a boxer. He was a diving instructor on it, so he had good English, and he was called Tom. I don't think that was his Thai name, but called Tom. He was on the boxing team, and he was told to look out for us and look after us. So when we first got in there on the first, we first got in, he took us for food and stuff like that. When we first walked in there, I stuck out like a sore thumb, because Martin's got dark hair, dark eyes, quite olive complexion. Everyone's Thai, Cambodian, no other Westerners in there. I turn up with blonde hair and blue eyes. I'm just some sort of real freak in there, and and you'll know yourself in Thailand. We're taught not to stare at something that's different.
Whereas they
come through and have a good old look, don't they?
Like you real touching.
Yeah. So the first night we were in there, we went in. We got some food, but they were meat in it. We were vegetarian, so we were just eating bits of rice. Everyone was following us around the place. It was really weird, but
any confrontation?
No, just intrigue. And I mean, I think the lucky thing is that they're quite into slapstick humour over there, and I'm quite clumsy. So after I'd fallen over a couple of times, I thought I was a comedy genius, so I was all right. so that worked out really well. And the good thing is Martin sort of quite fit into it, and did a bit of the training with the boxing guys, got us a bit of respect there. I did a little bit of massage on the boxing coach who had been in for shooting 2 people and stuff like that.
Did they give you a nickname? They're normally good at giving you nicknames.
No, not so much. Oh, well, they couldn't. No, not to our faces anyway, thinking about it. I'm trying to think now. But so Martin did a bit of training with the boxing people and stuff like that. But the first night we were in a cell probably with 30, 40 people. And me and Martin shared the same floor space, like floor space for one person, but 2 of us were on it. And we were in that cell for 2 nights with Tom and like loads of people. But then, because there was one cell where more people spoke English, and it was a cell of 11 people. And those 11 people were our ladyboys.
Oh,
so it was me and Martin and 11 ladyboys.
Okay, but they could all speak a decent bit of English.
They could all speak a decent bit of English.
Hello.
Yeah.
That's sexy man.
It is weird when you're trying to get to sleep and you're being told you've got beautiful blue eyes and
just
stuff
always
like
telling
that.
you how wonderful you look.
Yeah, or can I comb your hair for you? You're like, oh yeah. But and the funny thing is, there was one of the girls, because that's and how they were. And it's funny. Have you ever seen Dodgeball, the film?
Yes, fantastic.
Do you know the one with the monobrow?
Yes.
She looked like that, and she was called Joy, and she was miserable as sin.
You can't write it, can you?
Just honestly, but like they looked out for us quite well, and I mean, we were in that prison for 28 days in the end, because what happens is you're remanded for 12 days, and then after that 12 days, if they're not ready for you, you can be remanded for another 12 and another 12, and it keeps going. So we'd been in there and we were told that, they'll send off the weed that they found and it'll be tested. We'd been in there for 11 days and we get this, someone wants to talk to you. It's like, no one knows we're here. I went through and it was the copper that arrested us, and he was like, oh, good news. I sent your sample off yesterday. It's like, you've had it for 11 days and you sent it off yesterday, and but it's go. So it'll be back soon. It's not a big amount, won't be a big problem. And the bloke from I can't believe we've been in here for 12 days.
He hasn't even done anything.
Hasn't bothered sending it off yet. I had my 34th birthday in there.
Oh, did you have a little party?
Well, actually, we got some money through for the first time. Like, our money sorted out. So I think we had dried bananas and soya milk with honey in them, and that tasted like the elixir of the gods, because we'd just been drinking water out of the thing that tasted like mud. Yeah, and just not particularly good food. But so the days were quite hard, as in, you were out in the sun a lot. They'd let you out, I think it was about 4:30, 5 in the morning. Did
you panic at any point, Simon? Were you and Martin, like, did you get freaked out at any point, or were you kind of? We had up and down days and up and down times, but never at the same time. We never blamed. No one blamed each other. Mm-hmm. It was just, we're in this situation. We're safe at the moment. You know, like I was saying, as long as people kept away from me in that way, I'm all right. I can get on with most people, you know what I mean? And it was, there were times you felt really down. Did you get any kind of legal advice? Did you get to speak to anybody?
We spoke to the bloke from the embassy, came to see us, and more or less called us a dickhead, and it's your own fault, what were you thinking of? But in a nice kind of way, sort of thing. Yeah. And he brought us some books and stuff, and he just explained what would happen. And it was him that kept saying, oh, well, it can keep doing it for 12 days up until a point, and then it'll get sorted with. What will happen is you'll go to the courts, you'll get a fine, you'll be told you've got to be deported, so they'll stamp your passport with deported. You'll be held in some place in Bangkok while they can sort a flight out for you. Then you'll be sent home. So that's what we were expecting to happen. But it's the time, and it's the not knowing what's happening and things like that. Mm. In the meantime, we've had the woman from the church. She came to visit us, and like I say, she was lovely. She was really nice, but she came with 2 other Thai people. And when we went into the visiting room, there's probably from your bookcase to this back wall here is an open area, and then there's like a mesh like fence, and the visitors sit on one side. You've got all that gap, mesh, and we sit on the other side. So you're shouting backwards and forwards.
Yeah, so that's a distance.
But then there's 3 or 4 other stalls with other people in it. So there's like a woman next door, she's crying, her young fella's in prison, and she's all upset and can't. The next one along, kids have come to visit, they're climbing up the fences and stuff like that. And they're explaining what we've got to do to us. And I think we'd either sent a letter or we'd explain it's a good thing to send a letter to the person who's in charge of Chak province, I think it was, saying we're really sorry, we didn't expect this, it's not, that'll help your cause and stuff like that. So we're dealing with all of that. And then she was like, oh, do you know the hymn Amazing Grace? And I'm like, oh, I think we used to sing it at school, but I can't remember the words. Don't worry, I have them for you here. So gives copies to the guard that's watching us. He looks at can't read English, I think, doesn't think, gives it to us. And she's like, come on then, let's sing. And honestly, I was at one side like this, and Martin was at the other side like, we couldn't look at each other, because if we'd caught, all right, that was it, we'd have just lost it. Just singing Amazing Grace, trying not to laugh, and you've got woman next door crying, kids climbing up the thing.
Chaos.
And it's just like, how have we
You're in your own movie,
here?
aren't you?
Yeah, honestly, it was like that. I mean, don't get me wrong, like you said, it was scary, but there wasn't a day go by without us laughing. You know what I mean? There'd be things that would happen that'd be really funny, whether it'd be bashing me head off something or...
People hear horror stories about Thailand and jail, and Thai jail, and, the idea that your liberty and your ability to have a legal position that you understand, that's just, that's, in any... Like, there's a lot of stories where you just... We do what we want with you. We just leave you there.
Well, that was it. I mean, the classic line that when my mum finally found out, and she had to go at my sister for not saying something, he could have ended up losing a kidney.
Well, he do. You hear these stories,
that's
don't
the thing. And to be fair,
he did well to kind of keep...
if it had been the other way round and two little Thai lads had ended up in a prison in the northeast of England, they'd have had everything started. You know what I mean? It wouldn't have been as a nicer thing, but they were intrigued with us. Everyone wanted to learn, or you'll know this yourself when you're out there. You get everyone, they'll come up to you and they'll know 3 or 4 stock sentences. And
boy!
Yeah, they'll come up and they'll talk to you. They'll be, and then you start having a conversation with them, and it was the same in India. And you think, I'm a comedy genius. They think I'm so funny, and then you realise, oh no, they can't understand a word I'm saying.
Yeah.
And it'd be like that. And I can remember, like, we'd walk around the yards in different areas, because there were like 2 blocks at the bottom, a football pitch in the middle, and then blocks at the top, and paths all the way round. So we'd just walk round and round and round, and then change it for a change of scenery, change direction, walk the other way round. But it was better for us because, like, everyone went to work during the week. On Saturdays and Sundays they got the day off, and that was a bit harder because they were around all the time and in your face looking.
Did you have any grief off anybody?
Nothing at all. Nothing at all. We, like I say, we were really, really lucky. Like, they realised we didn't eat meat and sorted out it's just plates of cold rice most of the time. We didn't have to eat in the dining room. We could go into the office where the long-termers had been, that were running the place now, but legitimately running it, sort of thing. And you'd get the same every morning when you come down. You bum lady boy last night. It's like you're in the cell. You were literally watching me last night. You know what I mean? And when my friend Martin was walking, they always thought he's called Marcel for some reason. Marcel. And because he was doing the boxing, you go to Bangkok, be boxing champion. Every day the same thing. And I'd get, hey, Blondie. And like, when you're all right, that's fine. But when you're having a bit of one of those downers, you're like, oh God, where am I? How did I end up here? So it went backwards and forwards a couple of times to the court. And then we actually found out from one of the lady boys, because with them having better English, they worked on reception, the main reception for the place, coming in and out, like, you're going to court tomorrow? Are we? First thing we knew about it. So in the morning, we were called to go down to the place where they put the leg irons on.
Okay, yeah.
So I've literally...
Explain a leg iron for someone.
So it's a big ring that goes around your foot, and it's attached with chain to another big ring, and it's the rings are a bit like, do you know a key ring? So you put your foot through it, and then they put it in a machine and they squash it, and it's not rubbing against your skin, but it goes round. So you've got these big, heavy chains on your feet, so you can't run off. And they use it as punishment in the prison. If people have been fighting, they'll make them wear them as well. And but they put them on when you get to prison, so you can't run off. But they were nice to us. They gave us the slightly longer, shinier chains than the Cambodians that had the short, rusty chains.
Doesn't sound a lot, but goes a long way.
Yeah. So we go... before we get any further... So when we'd got busted, they'd found some weed, but Martin had split it into two, and there was another little tin in his rucksack that they didn't find, but our rucksacks were at the police station. And we knew they'd got that bit away. We knew there was another tin
in it.
We didn't know how much was in it, but we knew it was in there. And like all the way through, we're like, if
they're going to find that,
they're going to find. But it's like, we'll just keep quiet. We won't say anything. And that was it. When they said there was someone from the police to see us,
you thought that was what it was.
Oh God, they found it, and that's it. We're going to be in trouble. But we kept quiet about that. So yeah, we were called. We had these chains put round our ankles, back into the rascal van, back to the court. And luckily our Thai friend, she was there to do the interpretation for us, and we went into the court and backwards and forwards, and the judge talks in Thai to our interpreter, and he looks really shocked and sounds quite cross. Shit, what's happened here? And he was like, you could have got bail. He's like, oh yeah, we knew we could have done, but we didn't want to phone home. And he was like, oh, you not want your mummy to know?
Straight on it.
And he's laughing with us, chains around her ankles, handcuffed to my mate, making the judge laugh. And it was just like, oh, right. Went through, and it was like, right, it's a 2,000 baht fine. So what's that, 20, 30 quid or something like that?
2,000 baht, yeah, probably, I don't know now, probably about 30, 40 quid. Yeah.
And he was like, but you don't have to pay that because you get 200 baht a day for being in prison, so you've cleared your debt. So we didn't have to pay anything. And they were, oh, where's your passport? And I'm like, oh, it's at the embassy with the ambassador. He'd come down to see us and stuff, and they'd got them. So we've got to pick it up in Bangkok. And then some more talking in Thai about visa, and it just went very quiet. And they went, all right, you'll be able to go. So we go down to our cell, and then the interpreter comes back and goes, for a Christian woman, she was quite spot on for doing this. She was like, oh, they think on your passport that you've still got a visa to be in Thailand, that because it had expired, because we'd only got 2 weeks. We wanted a month, and we got a month. And she's like, don't say anything. Your passports are up there. All you'll have to do is do your visa run and just pay your overstay, which, fine, yeah, we'll do that. So we're in the cells, and how it works in Thailand, you've got to be released by the person that arrested you or something like that.
Okay.
And because we were on the mainland and we'd been in prison, but we'd been caught on the island, the copper that caught us was on the island, and he'd been getting pissed up and missed the ferry. So we've been released. This is the maddest Martin said he ever saw me. We've been released, no criminal record, done nothing, but because the copper had been on the piss, he couldn't come and sign us out till the next day. It's like, right in the cells at the local police station. So I went back to the prison, got our clothes. They took us back, and this was the worst place out of the lot, and it was only one night. We didn't even go in the cell. You're in the corridor outside, and there were like people in there with their kids that had been caught coming over the border from like Cambodia and stuff like that. Rats jumping around everywhere.
Oh dear, yeah.
Just absolutely hideous. And there was like one point Martin said, I thought, oh, you were going to bend the bars there, Simon, because like, we shouldn't even be in here, I'm stuck in it. And on it, it's like, I'll be here at 9 o'clock in the morning for you. He turned up about sort of 10 o'clock or something like that. Real, how are you? When I come to England, we'll go and see the football, just chatting. Oh, your bags are here. And we're like looking through, and they blatantly stole stuff from our like shorts and stuff out of our bags.
Really?
It's like, we're not saying anything. It's like, Martin, we've got to get that shit out of your bag somehow. And the police were like, oh, we'll take you to the bus station so you can go back to Bangkok.
It's
like,
all right.
So we're in the back of this pickup. They take us up. We get on the bus to Bangkok. We get a ticket, get on. We get off the bus at Bangkok. And part of the thing with, it was within 5 years in Thailand, if I broke any law, I'd have to do, I think it's 2 months, because that would have been the sentence for what we did, plus whatever else had happened.
The crime.
Accumulation. So as we got off the bus in Bangkok, there's coppers in the car park, and we try and get one taxi and we couldn't get into it. And we're walking around looking for another one, and the coppers call us over.
Oh,
fucking hell. And that was the most scared I was, because at this point we're in Bangkok, so the Bangkok Hilton, you know, I mean, it's a total different level of something there. So we go over and they're looking through our bags, and I just start talking to the blokes incessantly. So I've got some dollars, I need to show, where can I get them changed at and stuff like that, knowing it's in Martin's bag. Luckily, Martin's bag was in 2 bits. So he just threw it on the floor, unzipped the top bit and started pulling, still not knowing where the stuff was, but pulling stuff out. It's just clothes. And they're looking around, and with therapists away, he's got essential oils in the... They're like, what's this like? Smell it. They're like, oh, no. It's like, no, it's lavender. And like I say, that's the most scary moment of the lot. And I think... You've seen the film Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels? Mm-hmm. Do you know when he loses all the money and is in the boxing ring and everything goes
everything's just melting around him. Yeah,
it was like that. It was just so like, what the hell is going on? And like, luckily they didn't find it. We just jumped into the next taxi that came, went to Koh San Row, got a hotel, and it was literally, right, Martin, you flush that. I've got to go and email because I've been off email for 28 days.
Yeah.
So, I mean, looking at it, I should have known I'd be all right, because I grew up watching Porridge, Prisoner Cell Block H and Tenko.
Ronnie Barker.
Ronnie Barker, yeah. So that gave me the training and the knowledge of the prison that I needed. But the amount of weed they caught us with was 2.8 grams. Less than an eighth.
And that's what's fucking mad.
So be careful if you get to Thailand, guys, because you can smoke out there. But if you get caught, offer to pay a fine to the person that catches you.
Yeah.
Because I don't regret it.
It's a hell of an experience.
Exactly. And
Great story.
It was doing that made me realise.
I mean, if you'd have had 2.8 kilos, it's a completely different thing, isn't it? But essentially, that's the long way around a load of fucking about for a couple of grams of Thai stick. It
cost me a month of my life, but it is the best travel story. There's very few people who can beat me.
I mean, it is. You know, these experiences, I mean, at the end of the day, there's no malice, there's no bad intention, there's no ill intention. You know, you're not out there trying to fucking hustle or sell crack to kids or fucking, you know, you're smoking a bit of weed and you've had a mad experience.
Go to Thailand from this country, you know what I mean? It's like we were there doing the holistic thing.
And having a smoke.
It's just, one of those things. But had I not done that, I don't think I would have had enough in me to go and do my yoga teacher training in India, because I knew that was all dormitories and stuff, but you got a bed there, so that was fine after. Because when me and Martin were in the cell with the ladyboys, we measured the area from elbow to elbow like that. That is the room me and Martin had to sleep on.
Wow.
On a thin mat. It felt like you didn't sleep for a month.
Wow.
But when we got out for Martin's 30th as well, so we had his 30th in Bangkok, but it was very subdued.
But just And again, I know from just living in Thailand and not having water half the time, because the water tank that we had was just, there's no real infrastructure, there's no real, and I'd be reminded, fucking hell, how mad is it in England? We just have clean water that just comes out the tap, and hot water. Like you can't really contemplate that until you haven't got it.
No, well, that's it. It's just,
so I imagine stepping out of the jail after a month was just like,
it was mental going from that to like Koh San Row. It just like people everywhere.
Crazy.
Actually seeing other white people as well. It was just become institutionalised.
But it's cool. I mean, like you said there, when you see the police in Bangkok, there's a famous story, A Prayer Before Dawn.
Yeah.
A lad from Liverpool who I've spoken to, Billy Moore, actually, about me going on his podcast and him coming on here at some point and sort of swapping Thailand stories. They made a film.
The boxer.
Yeah.
I've seen the film,
Billy Moore, Prayer Before Dawn, and it's got Joe Cole stars in it. And
because he was on Sean's
podcast.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Billy's got his own now, the All or Nothing podcast.
Oh,
great
right.
podcast.
Yeah.
So check it out. There's another podcast dot connecting.
That's it. Yeah.
But he does a great podcast, and he's got a really interesting story. But the film, the way they depict the Thai jail, because he's in the Bangkok Hilton. Yeah. And it's roughneck in there.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to sleep. Oh.
Well, I didn't sleep properly. I mean, there were bits you were dropping off. But, I mean, it was fun, like, we've been in there for a while, and because we weren't shaving, we'd grown bits a bit. All of a sudden, the Cambodians are growing beards. And we were like fashion icons. But it was like I said, it's made me realise how strong my mind is.
Yeah.
And that's no bad, especially the past year we've had. It's like I've survived 28 days in a prison in Thailand, you know what I mean?
And isn't it strange, like you alluded to before about, if two young Thais are in jail in England, although we've got all this kind of rigid infrastructure and efficiency and all that, actually there's a roughness and a bad experience to be had in a completely different way, isn't there? Yeah. Because it sounds like you were quite lucky with the people that you were locked up with, and even the guards even.
Oh, yeah, no, it's like, it was, we could walk, there were like certain gates that were locked during the day, but certain prisoners would be let through them, like the boxing coach and people like that. And we could walk through them as well. And there's some of the prisoners didn't like opening it for us. And the standing joke was like, do you reckon we could walk out the front door?
Yeah.
The Senate
try
was
this
all
one.
right.
What about this one?
But yeah, it was just like culturally to be in something like that, it is one of those bad things, a silly thing, you know what I mean? But
it's an amazing experience. And if this is where I always end up, if your intentions are good, you're just having a smoke. You're not out there trying to fucking make $1 million and ruin
you know what I mean? I'm not Howard Marks, am I? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's like
this is an experience that you take away, and it turns you into who you are.
Oh, that's it.
So you mentioned we arrive at this year, and it's been a really, really difficult year.
Yeah.
And with you having your own business now and offering all of your therapies, all of this journey that we've discussed today has accumulated in simoncowling.co.uk, which is your website to your business where you offer all of these treatments.
Well, I haven't been able to.
How's it been then? So
it's been an absolute nightmare. I was literally I started working for myself 3.5 years ago, because after sort of Thailand, stuff like that, did another season in Greece, then came back to work in the UK, worked locally in the northeast at a really big hotel called Rockcliffe Hall, which is like a big 5-star hotel, lovely spa. It's owned by the bloke who owns Middlesbrough Football Club, and the training grounds up there. It's all lovely. While I was there, I did my yoga teacher training, went out to India to an ashram for a month, up at 5 o'clock, chanting and meditation, did that for a month, and that qualified me to be a teacher. Came back, was working at Rockcliffe, went to work at another little spa in between Penrith, up near Barnard Castle, called the Garage at the Morit Arms Hotel. Did that. I'll just go through it quickly. Got itchy feet again, went and worked out in Portugal for a summer, a yoga and a surf retreat, which was heaven.
Oh, I bet it was, yeah.
Absolute heaven. The place was called TP Valley, so you can imagine what sort of tents people were staying in. It was a lovely glamp site, about 15 guests at a time.
Surfing and yoga.
Yeah, and I ended up there by accident. I was meant to be there for a week, stayed for 3 or 4 months, and learned to surf by accident. Swimming came back in and stuff like that. I had a brilliant time there. Did that for the summer, a little India break. Went to work out in France again against my better judgment because I don't like the cold and stuff like that. And on the whole, big groups of skiers aren't my kind of people. I prefer the surfer crew than the skier crew.
Is it strange how the cultures are so different in the various sports? And
yeah. Well, you've got to have money to be a skier, haven't you? You know what I mean? It's not a cheap thing. So I did that, and then I was going to go back to Portugal, but that fell through. So I went and worked over in the Lake District again at a place called Armenthwaite Hall, which is in between Cockermouth and Keswick.
Right.
Did that for a while. Then I went to do my teacher training, so I can, as in, teach massage and stuff. So I went back to college, which was for a year, which was good fun, quite taxing for me because I'm not an academic, but the teaching side I thrived at. You know, I've just loved it.
And I love the way you put yourself through it anyway, Simon, to keep collecting the experience and the knowledge.
And in life, whenever you do stuff, there's always, like when I was at art college, probably the same for you, you had to do your contextual studies. Everyone hated that.
But like you said earlier about, you know, I fucking hated that, like 1,500 words on whatever it was. But actually, as we mentioned earlier about how it comes back around in later life and you appreciate it.
Yeah.
I was just teaching my kids about Salvador Dali the other day, and I did a contextual study on Salvador Dali.
Oh, right, yeah.
And it was weird. We were reading this book. I've got a book about, it's called Brave Boys of the Past or something. It's just got, I don't know, 60 different people, historical people, ranging from, I mean, Bill Gates, ironically, he's in there. But people who've done things, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And one of them was that Salvador Dali. And I was like, straight away it came out, I was like, oh God, I did like a week and a half study and did like 2,000 words on Salvador Dali. Yeah,
because like stuff like that had always been really hard for me, you know what I mean? Like art college, and when I'd done my holistic therapist, you're not in a classroom, you're in a studio, you're in a salon, and there's not that desk sage on the stage in front of you telling you what to do. And then going back to college, and well, it started before I went back to college, and you're on about the things that you store up from your childhood. For my interview for the college, you had to write a little presentation on a teacher that had had an impact on your life. So I wrote about a really lovely teacher I had when we lived in Gainsborough when I was a kid. And she was amazing. She was artistic. She let me do stories on tapes instead of write them down, because I'd struggled with my writing. She really got me. But the teacher I'd had before that had been horrible, man. He'd yell at me, shouting at me for things, for being dyslexic, but he didn't understand it. You know, we're talking early 80s here, so it's just, you're just a lazy little kid as far as he was concerned. And I didn't realise what an impact that had on my life until I was writing this thing. I was like, oh, blooming heck, I feel a bit strange. And I was like, oh, Mum, can I read this out to you? Just because I've got a set. Started reading it, streaming with tears. Looked at my mum, she was like, we're not like that, you know what I mean? But
she's
God,
emotional as well.
Buried that for all that time, and it had just come up. So you don't realise, and that's just, it's not a major thing, a major trauma. So you think these kids that go through big things, what effects it has on your later life. And then as I went back and I was at college, again, when I was sat in classrooms, I was feeling that panic again as I did as a kid. And it was like, I didn't realise that was in there. You know what I mean? I'm happy-go-lucky, love what I do.
Certain environment, though, certain circumstances.
And it just triggers you. It's ridiculous. And it's that age thing. It made me realise, like before, when I'd be in a classroom situation, I'd sit next to someone I knew was a talker, so I could have a chat with him. And I'd look like I was taking notes, but I'd be drawing pictures. And I'd be looking out the window. So when I was at college, I made the point of sitting with my back to the window, sitting next to the glass I knew was the quietest in the room. And I didn't take notes. I just listened, because I'd start drawing. And it's just retraining your brain and stuff like that. And we had to do like maths and English tests. I mean, you'd already got on there, but I haven't got GCSE maths or English. So you had to do these tests. And that little kid came, I was just in bits. And I can remember doing these tests and on and imposter syndrome, feeling really, it's really bad. Oh, I hate this. Then later on that day, I was on I was teaching, because you teach people and you'd be overwatched. So I'd teach massage to people. And the difference in me, I put on my therapist uniform.
And then
I stood a little bit taller.
Felt back
and I
back in your
walked
skin.
into the salon, which is a completely feminine energy area.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of like when I was working, especially when I worked out at the one at Barnard Castle, a lot of farmers, you'd see them walking, they'd be scared, because, I'm in a spa, I don't know what to do. And just the difference, putting them on, and it's like, all right, so whenever I teach, I'm going to make sure, even if I'm in a classroom, I just put my smock on. And it's mad the difference it makes in your head.
Well, the ritual, the almost.
It's like costume or that, you know what I mean? It's,
like I don't know. It's symbolic.
It's like when you're in the
something.
band, did you have like certain stuff you'd wear when you're on stage and stuff like that?
I guess I did, yeah. You know, with big gigs coming up, I'd grab certain bits, because you'd think, this is a display. This is and you'd accentuate what you do.
The difference it makes, though, isn't it?
And I've always felt like that with environments. You know, like you came through the house earlier. You know, I always like to try and make the room, or create the energy, or create like. I think it does something. It does do something on a subliminal level. It sets the tone.
Yeah.
No, damn, I feel that.
So I did my teaching, and while I was doing my teaching, I did a little bit, and a place I still teach massage at now in Stockton called Total. Did a little bit with them. I knew the college course was coming to an end, so I thought, it's summer season, I'll get myself away, do another yoga and surf retreat. So I went to Morocco and did a retreat out there, but it was in our summer, which is really, really... I've always wanted to go to Marrakesh, and I finally got to go to Marrakesh in June, in the heat of the sun. I wouldn't suggest it's the best time to go. It's too hot. So, I was out there, but they didn't have many people in, so they shut down the surf place to redo it. But I went out to teach yoga and do some surfing again. While I was out there, and I knew I was coming back, I saw one of the girls I used to work with, who was working for herself, saying she was really busy. People get some appointments in. So I was like, if you sent me a message going, if you're really busy, I'm coming back. I don't know how long I'll be around, but if you need a spare pair of hands, I can help you. So come and see me when you get back. I've got a proposition for you. So I went to see lovely Faye, and I turned up and she was heavily pregnant. That had nothing to do with me. That wasn't the proposition.
It already happened.
She was going on maternity leave and wanted someone to take over her practice while she was off, and someone she knew she could trust. And I'd trained her up at Rockcliffe. So I was like, I hadn't thought of working for myself, but I'll give it a go. And in the meantime, to try and stop me getting itchy feet all the time, my mum and dad were like, we're giving you and your sister some money. I'm like, brilliant, I'm out the country. Like, no, you're buying a house together. It's your deposit. So I was like, all right, I'm working for myself. But that's got an end date to it, because Faye's coming back. I've got a house now. I never really thought I'd ever be in that situation. Mm-hmm. But I've got my own lounge. I can turn that into a yoga and a treatment room. So working myself, got my yoga and my treatment room set up. So to my business, there's actually doing the treatments themselves, teaching yoga and teaching massage. So the irony of me being working from home for the past 3 years, and everyone else is told to work from home now, but I'm not allowed to.
Yeah, such a strange phenomenon, isn't it?
Of people coming in. So I teach yoga at a few different places. I do some local gyms. I have a place in the little village that I live in that we're starting up again next week. I can't wait.
Excellent.
At Healing Flow in Norton. I do some work for True Gym, and one of the really nice jobs at Teesside Uni, I do some teaching of yoga as well, and I have a really nice contract that I've got with a recovery charity, which are people on 12-step recovery for drug and alcohol dependency. And I've been going there for sort of 2 years, do a little bit online with them now, but to go into the centre and see these people that have been through, and they've all got amazing stories to tell. And the good thing is they open up so well. And one of the high spots of my career as a therapist, yoga teacher was probably about 6 to 8. This is in the borough, so proper borough recovering addicts, people that if you walk down and out you'd be a bit scared of.
Yeah.
Got them all laid in the room, just breathing, doing the yogic breath, bit of meditation. Like some hard blokes in there that with
but getting them letting go,
all chilling, calming down, and it's like, this is amazing. You know what I mean? It's
not
like,
a lot more powerful than that.
And afterwards, like, what would your mates think if they could see us now? I don't care, I feel really good.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's from just using your breath as well, you know what I mean?
It's all hidden in plain sight, isn't it?
It is, and to be able to pass these skills on to people, to be able to use, so you don't feel... I've never felt anxiety up until lockdown 3, and that's really just got to me so much, because so much of my identity, and it's the same for a lot of people that do therapies, is your work. It's your teaching your yoga, it's your doing your treatments, just taken away from you.
Literal human contact, by the way. Not just being around people, but literal energy being expended through the hands, through touch, making people comfortable physically, verbally.
Yeah, that's it. And it is, and literally I'd got to the point of, I'd got my own 3 or 4 private classes. I'd got 2 classes a week at the recovery place, a couple of classes at Teesside Uni, even Barker and Stonehouse. Do you have them down here? The furniture shop. It's quite nice, high-end furniture. I'd gone in when it had been sport relief to do a class with them, and they wanted me to go in and do like a Thursday morning with the people before they started work. All of this was building. I was teaching at, like say, the place in Stockton, gone like that. And because I'd been working less than 3 years and I'd only got 1 year's worth of
you didn't qualify for all this stuff.
I get universal credit.
That's a tough one, man.
So it has been hard. The good thing is the teaching of Total in Stockton, where I do some there, I've been doing little bits there, and I was also a couple of weeks ago approached by a lady in Hartlepool, Tracy Duke training, and I'm going to be doing some massage training there again. So stuff is starting to trickle through. Like I said, I start back at some of the gyms next week, but it's just been so annoying that holistic health is what people need at the moment.
It's fucking more than ever.
But
it's outrageous.
Yeah, it's like
so insane.
People will queue up to have a jab. Fair enough if you've done your research and you think that's a good idea to be a lab rat and have that done. I don't want that done. If you eat healthily, you exercise.
I mean, the conversation's insane, Simon.
I mean, I look at it, I'm lucky. I eat quite cleanly. I exercise, I do my yoga every day. I've got my dog, I take him for a walk. I throw the frisbee. Life couldn't be sweeter. But I still struggle with that. So if you're a family that's ended up in the flat, no kids being able to take it, they must be going mental.
It's awful. It's awful.
I've said this many a time to people. It's like, I don't directly know anyone who's suffered with corona, but I think everyone we know is suffering with their mental health because of it.
Oh, the balance is just off the scale. I mean, and also the way the narrative has gone.
Yeah,
they've managed to make this conversation seem somehow fucking scandalous.
Yeah,
to have a conversation about the idea that this all seems very out of balance. Yeah, it's very self a conversation that's frowned upon.
Yeah, because it's weird how, in the eyes of the mainstream sort of media and stuff, how I would have been labelled by that. When the Europe thing happened, I would have been a metropolitan elitist Ramona for that. That's liberal elite. I'm not that.
The polarisation of it all is just
then
insane.
I was a socialist Corbynista because I thought, now I'm a right-wing tinfoil hat-wearing conspiracy theorist.
Truth.
It's all out there, Ronnie. It's all out there. You know it, don't you?
Yeah, it's. I was just making the point. I was just saying to Aidan before we started, I'd done the intro, and so for the audio version of this podcast,
yeah, you do a little bit.
It goes on a Monday,
Yeah.
and the videos go out on a Friday. But I do like an intro and outro, and just sort of keeping up the timeline of life.
That's been the good thing of listening on there, just of
Right, okay.
how things have changed. But it's how you can be, for being a critical thinker, you can be called a conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
It's just that whole cutting people down and not even people being able to have the conversation that...
It's so scary.
Yeah.
It's the scariest thing.
And that's what makes you think there's got to be more. That, like, I was trying to find the documentary The Great Reset, and that was so hard to find because it'd been buried away somewhere.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's stuff in there that I agree with, and there's stuff that I think,
Well, this is the point, Simon. It's not to say, I mean, the story writers, the legacy media, let's call them at this point, you know, they're trying to control the conversation, and obviously medical martial law is basically what we've been under for the last year. But it's the censorship and the conversation and this polarizing idea that if you are vaccine hesitant, that somehow that must mean that you're a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
So that's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
I was just saying on the outro, I think of the John Wedger episode that would have gone out today at the time of recording as we sit here, that actually, you know, most of the people that I know in my first-hand experience, and when I look further at literature, look at statistics, look at data, most of the people who've chosen no, I'm okay, thanks, for any kind of government, you know, medicine that you want to give me, like just like out of nowhere, I'll say no because I pay attention, as you just said, I pay attention to my health anyway. Yeah. You know, I am making disciplined decisions and doing difficult things, getting up at half 5 and going for a run and doing shit.
We can all do things more.
Yeah. But I'm doing things that I have done for a long time to take care of my health. Like I don't use certain products that have got, you know, different chemicals, and I try to minimise chemicals going in my body because I've done enough reading and paid enough mind to the idea that, that's probably a contributing factor to why we have a lot of ailments these days, and it can't be good for you, really, could it? So I made a point of saying that, and I think that's really important to remind ourselves of, you know, and I'll do it again now. Disclaimer, right? We're not scientists.
No.
We're not saying you're wrong, I'm right, you're right. It's a conversation about an unprecedented, cataclysmic human experiment that's happening. And by that I mean, you know, we've never ever done this. We've never done this. We've never been pressured by the government to have a medical procedure. Yeah. You know.
That there's been rushed through in 12 months.
Alongside, that's been rushed through in 12 months alongside absolute clear propagandic elements of, you know, I think they've spent 2.8 at this up to now 2.8 billion pounds on the marketing campaign. To make you act like you've got it. Yeah. And and
the fear that people have got, you know, I see it with my own family and stuff like that, and it's like the chances of catching it are really, really slim, and sort of the age group we are, and if you do catch it, the chances are even slimmer, you know what I mean? I can understand if you've got health concerns, you're a bit older and stuff like that, and especially if you're that bit older and you've been brought up not to question in the same sort of way, or they wouldn't do anything unless it was good for us. But there's just too much inconsistency. It's just so what you can meet as many people as you want in a pub garden, but you can only have 6 in your...
None of it makes any fucking sense other than the confusion. I mean, a guy on the podcast previously said, what was it? They called it linear politics, where they just literally just keep flip-flopping and changing just so nobody knows where they are. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of incompetence. I'm not saying there's little old men in a Egyptian cave, you know, coming up with a master plan. ultimately it's all business, it's all profit, it's all about
it's all
data,
tech companies, big pharma,
yeah, and databases and predicting behaviour and streamlining. And I get the Great Reset stuff. I get the idea of zero carbon. I get the idea of overpopulation. I get all those ideas. In the end, for me, we could go all day. What really matters is choice and freedom of speech and liberty.
And that's it. And laws being like the changing laws on you being able to protest and stuff like that.
So all of a sudden, you can't even have a question about, well, what's going on here?
You can't. You're not allowed to ask.
You're telling me I've got to surrender my biology. I've got to surrender my biology.
Yeah.
And I can't question that.
Yeah.
And that. I'm not. We talked about killing fields earlier. I don't know anybody. I do not understand this noise, this rhetoric that's coming down. It does not have any semblance to the reality of the life that I'm living and the people that, it's very, very strange.
Because for me, it was sort of 2 or 3 weeks into the clap for the NHS. I was like, hang on, this is quite clever. They've got everyone in the country now is on their doorstep clapping because they just do it to show you care and to start with it.
But we won't give them a pay rise, by the way.
Well, that's it. Yeah. It's like, we're all in this together. We're all in this together. And then it's like, just to show you care. And then it's like, just pop a mask on to show you care. Go on. The next thing, have this inject. What? Yeah.
Well, it's so incremental, and it's. I think there's a lot of people now really are realising, what on earth is happening here. This is insane. People are realising that it's just a slow process, and unfortunately, a lot of this stuff gets embedded. Behaviours get changed.
Well, that's it, and I think it's a lot of it is people don't want to be seen as the. I don't want to be causing a problem. You want to be a good citizen. We're very British. It's like, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
but it's like. I don't go to as many places, but I don't wear a mask when I go to places. And I go in with a smile on my face and I engage with the people. The worst was when it was voting last week. You went, there's face masks there if you haven't got one. I don't wear one. There's anti-bac gel there. What, for a virus? I didn't say that, but no, I'm not putting that on my hands either.
That's insane.
You know what I mean? It's like, and it's like, yesterday, have you heard of standing up in the park? It's for people, So we went to one in Middlesbrough yesterday, and the poor parky bloke was coming around. You lot, you're all stood too close together.
I mean, and what I find,
we're adults outside.
One of the most insidious things is, and I've shared. I mean, I'm quite vocal through this story on the Instagram, which is the only place we post on the Tudor Chat. And I'll often push things through there. And often it is cases like that where human beings, right? The policeman in the video that you watch who arm wrestle a lady to the floor, they're just people who go home. Those police officers go home to their house, get their laptop and watch their shit on their laptop and have their turkey drummers and a mashed potato and have their dinner and think about the next shift. And the wife asks them about, what should we do at the weekend? They're just fucking people. Yeah. They're people. And we're people. And then those people come and say, oh, you're stood too close to those people. And in the beginning, let's give everyone a break. In the beginning,
to start with, when we was taking the dogs for a walk, I was holding my breath when I walked past people.
It's clear now. It's clear. It's fucking crystal fucking clear. Yeah, that like, oh no, this is a control. This is politicised. This is weaponised. This is about digital future. This is about reherding the population into a digital future where we are basically incorporating the technologies of the future into us now. And it's happened quick. It's been utilised, and that's not a conspiracy. That's just how business works. That's like business. You see an opening and you strike, and that's what's happened. Yeah. And the insidious thing is the way we're being lied to about it and coerced, and conversation is being killed.
And it just says it all when no one died of flu last year.
Flu's been eradicated. There is no flu or common cold anymore.
And bigger than that, they say, we're not giving out the statistics for suicides.
Because it's very difficult at the moment because it's all gone quiet. I mean, it'll all come out in the end.
Definitely.
It will all come out in the end because people the good will's out, truth will's out, and in the end we'll see. But I think probably the scariest thing is I was just watching UK Column just before we did the podcast, just listening to them. And if you are you aware of UK Column?
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. They're doing amazing work. They're legitimate, independent news source.
Yeah.
You know, Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays. I say this all the time on the podcast. I've been linking them into the descriptions for a long, long time, but they've just been removed from Facebook. Now, this is the scary bit. All they do is take the government statistics, the government documents, all of the mainstream media's hearsay, and they actually just they do the research.
Yeah, they do the critical thinking,
They go and do the critical thinking, they tie everything up, they get all the sources, they legitimately take the legitimate documents and statistics and actually paint a picture, not a fleeting headline.
Well, that's it, yeah. And they take
9
the time
million
to do
people in India have tested, but it's not just like these fleeting, oh my God, shit, we better get home quick before the fucking... they just take it apart and show you. This is the reality. So how for instance, Daily Mail arrived at this headline. Yeah. This is the information. So can you see how that headline in amongst all these other ones just ricochet off of everybody's...
Well, that's it. And it's that, it's fake news. It's just...
the goodwill out, I think there's going to be an announcement, I think, that's going to be difficult with online harms, which is being censoring the internet further based on protecting children. If you look in the fine print again, as UK Colin will unpick, it's essentially just shutting down free speech.
Well, that's
basically. It doesn't fly with the narrative.
It's strange that because I was talking to someone about this yesterday. It's like growing up for me. I'm 46, so I can just remember like the Falklands and the miners' strike and stuff like that. There was the poll tax riots and there was the march against the war in Iraq. But we haven't had, if you think through the 60s, the 70s and the first part of the 80s, it was quite commonplace for people to protest, to be out on the streets, to be on marches. But we had those communities then, whether it was the miners, the steel workers. It's all gone now. So people haven't for years had that marching mentality, so it's coming in a bit more now with things that are happening. Like the other week there was the march in London that didn't get any
big, huge. I'm going to the next one actually.
Hopefully, well, I might be down there.
I'm going on the 29th, I think. There's a big worldwide one on the 15th, isn't there? And there's a lot happening.
One on 29th.
But the 29th, I think, is going to be the enormous one. And I'm going, in fact, we're going producer aid, aren't we? I'm going to take my 2 boys as well.
Well, if I'm down there, I'll give you a shout.
Yeah, you should. I just feel like I have to stand up for some kind of truth.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned earlier, you walk in places without a mask and you're somebody who's taking care of your health. Your job is to help people with their health.
That's it. And
and you just got to stand true.
Yeah. And it's like I said, I've done a little bit, to get back to it, been doing a little bit of stuff online and what have you. But teaching a yoga class online doesn't really work
All of
properly.
It's bullshit. All of this Zooming is fucking bullshit. It's bullshit.
You've got to be there. Because it's not so bad if you've got people that have done the classes with you before because they know what you're doing. But if you've got someone who hasn't and you're looking at a little screen trying to work out whether they're getting it right.
We started fucking it up, Simon, when we started texting each other. Everything's done in text. Everybody's got a little perfect picture in their fucking thumbprint, and then and they're painting this picture, and we're all sending this fucking. No, actually, you're wrong. I'm right. And all this code, and no one's actually in front of each other with the intonation and the timing and the human energy and the accountability that comes with looking somebody in the eye.
That was the nice thing when I worked in Portugal. Like I say, it was 8 years ago. 7 years ago, anyway, it doesn't matter, a few years ago. And where we were, like in Teepee Valley, it was off-grid. There was no internet there. I was lucky in my room in the shipping container that I had a plug in there so you could charge things up in it. But if you wanted to use the internet, you had to walk into town and go to Intermarché and buy a pan au chocolat and sit. So you would think about, what have I got to do when I go and do my internet? It was when Russell Brand was doing the Trues, so I'd go and listen to the Trues and stuff like that. But because it wasn't every day, you'd go and you'd have your hour or your 2 hours. It's like, right, I've got to do this job. I'm researching to go to India, so I've got to find that out. You're not just on it all day, like you say.
Just mindlessly scrolling.
You're going into YouTube and you just end up down different rabbit holes because, like say, you love a documentary, and one thing leads to the other day I was watching something about the Ultimate Warrior Wrestler. What do I care about? You know what I mean?
Well, you remember him from being a kid, and you're intrigued.
It just intrigued me. And I was like, oh God, yeah, that's about. I've wasted 20 minutes there.
It's dangerous. It's like food. It's like anything that's too easy, you know, we end up just ragging it to death. That's what we do. And it takes discipline to be able, and critical thinking, and a whole host of like different behaviours and psychological modes to be able to step back and go, this is a pattern.
Yeah.
And as fun as it is, or whatever it is, if you're gaming all the time, or if you're whatever, fucking shagging, eating chocolate cake, at some point when you're doing it all the time, it's not good for you.
That's it. You need, and I think for a lot of people this year's brought it because you have been stuck at home, and it has. You can just sit and. I mean, don't get me wrong. I can sit and I can do a box set. I can back to back stuff. It's, you know, some people it's music or it's reading. It's like, well, I like listening to comedies and podcasts and things like that, and I'm quite happy in my own space as long as the dog's been walked and I've
done your bits,
done my yoga, and I've cooked my teas ready to go. That's fine, but it's not. It's having. That's why I did my yoga teacher training. Actually, was because it was for a month, and they say if you do something for a month, it becomes a habit. Yeah,
if you stick with something and see it through, they reckon
it's in there. So I went for the month more for my own practice. So I do my own practice because I never thought like the thought. I mean, I'm better at it now. Standing up in front of groups of people. When I very first started doing yoga, it was smaller groups, so it wasn't too bad. But when I went to do my teacher training, that was putting my uniform on made such a difference because the thought of going in and talking to loads of people put the fear of God into me.
Yeah.
And when I started working for myself, I thought I'd be doing mainly treatments, a little bit of one-on-one yoga and the odd group class. And it's the reverse of that. I do more big group classes and stuff like that. It's just building your confidence up and letting people know that you do know what you're doing as well, you know, because that's quite funny. Quite often you'll get a newcomer come to the class and they'll look round and think every woman in the class is the teacher before it's me.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It's funny, but yeah.
Well,
nice.
Listen, Simon, I've really enjoyed this today. We will point everybody to your. In fact, did we have? We had your website up.
But
so
have a look on
simoncowling.co.uk.
You can contact me through that if you want to have a yoga class, if you want to have a massage, if you want to learn some treatments. I would be happy to hear from you all because it's been a very, very quiet year, and I'm starting to do little bits and bobs here and there, and I think that's me. Yeah,
Simon Cowling, holistic therapy and yoga, lovely. That's the point. You gifted me this.
I did. That's a Hanneman. I got that.
You brought this Hanneman. So just before we got started on the podcast,
for your collection,
you'd said you'd noticed the vibes in here and the Buddhas and stuff, and
so I thought bring something from the Hindu lot. That's from Rishikesh.
Oh, is that really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
That was in my treatment room, and I thought, I know that'll go.
Yeah, look at that lot.
So he's the monkey god.
The monkey god. We like some monkey god. Yeah. That's amazing.
Well,
thank you, Simon.
Thank you.
No, I've really enjoyed it. It's been amazing, and I love your energy. Nice and laid back, and just
that's the way to be. It's been good to be back down in Lincolnshire as well. All right, trip down memory lane for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, mate.
Peace.